Is it so? Is it going to play the intro, or do we just dive right in? Okay. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Refined Life podcast. We're happy to be here. I've got my road dogs. I've got little Emma. Say hello, little Emma. Hi. We've got Addy.
Hola.
And of course, we got my brother T Day.
What's up, everybody?
We are happy to be here. We've got some special guests today. We've got Jared Blake.
Hey, what's up?
And we got Big Vinny.
Holla, holla. Let's do this thing.
Yes, we're so happy to be here. We're working on living this refined life. We're happy to have these special guests. I just got to be honest. The force of average has been after me today. It has been after me. I got home in a hurry to get here. A little girl had to change her clothes. Had the dogs inside in the crates and walk in, and there's a crate full of shit. I mean, the house was foul. And I'm like, man, I got to put the dogs back in the crate to get to the podcast, man. And I'm like, whew. So I go to clean that up, and shit gets all over my shirt and over my jeans. And
yeah.
So here I am, man. I put on my Legion of Boom shirt. And man, I feel like I look fantastic.
It looks great, bro.
I feel like if we could get this exact shirt without the First Form stuff, we could
dominate.
We could have a business on
right.
Instagram and Facebook.
Well, let me see that tag. What we working with?
I know we gotta get you in one.
I know it's not gilt. I know it's not that gilded hard cotton. You put on one of those gilded hard cotton things. You think that's what they've been sanding stuff with, you know?
So we've got a business plan here.
Yeah,
just for the record, we got a business plan out of all this. So let's not waste time. Let's dive in. I think we've got a lot to talk about with you two guys. We're super excited about everything you got going on. So let's jump right in. Emma, you want to start? Let's start with, you got questions for Jared or Vinny?
I want to go last.
You want to go last? All right, Addy, let's rock and roll, girl.
Okay, what did you learn most on The Voice?
What I learned most on The Voice, to not second guess myself. The Voice in particular, or the reality shows, I'd say in general, it's all a head game. The way the producers get you to do stuff is just by planting seeds, and if you've said something that's going to change the way they want it to turn out, then they just constantly make you guess or second guess yourself. And pretty much the whole season, I realized that if I had just done exactly what I wanted to do, it would have worked out way, way better.
Yeah, so they didn't really let you be yourself.
No, they do. They just manipulate it by just,
editing
and throwing different little pieces out. It's just, I mean, they even did it with the coaches. You could see like Blake or any of them would be sitting there and they would say one thing, they'd stop cameras, and then you'd see the producer go over and whisper something in his ear, and Blake go, and then he'd say something totally different. And you're like, geez. But that was also the creator of Survivor too. So they're like, it's the greatest reality game ever. So he was really good at.
We almost got on him 1 year.
Yeah, we did.
We almost got on Survivor. Me and him together as a team.
Man, how you think you would have done?
We would have won.
I don't disagree.
I would have. You know what I would have done? I would have subliminally went into people's heads when they were sleeping. Like, don't vote Vinny out. And they'd have woke up. They'd have woke up and they'd been like, "Man, I'm not going to vote Vinny out. I don't care what happens. I just got to whisper it in their ears all the time. They'll never even know what's happening. It's going to be great."
For the record, I wouldn't vote you off.
Yeah. You remember that? You remember that episode
well,
of Saved by the
until
Bell?
you get like way into the game. You need him for a long, long time. You get the top 5, you're like, everybody likes him too much. He's going to go.
Yeah, a man can deadlift 700 pounds. I'm not voting that man off.
You need entertainment. That's what I was there for. You know what I mean? I'm going to keep you. I'm like TV. While we're filming a TV show, I'm your TV when you don't have any TV in the wild,
Yeah, fact.
That's what I was going to do. If they need me to, I'll put on plays out by the ocean. It was going to be great. That was my plan anyway.
So, Jared, you were season 1 or season 2
season
of The
1.
Voice? Season 1. Man, that's how many years are they in now?
Oh, I think they did. They're on 12th year. So I think they're in probably 21, 22.
Man, that's crazy.
Seasons, yeah.
That's crazy. So, Vinny, you did The Biggest Loser, right?
I did.
What's the one lesson you took away from that?
You have to eat less and work out more if you want to lose weight.
Not get to 500 pounds. Just don't do it. Don't do it.
No, I think the biggest thing I learned on that show is probably forgiveness. I learned how to forgive people, and I think so many people in their life, they blame other people for where they're at, whether it be their mom or a circumstance that happened as a kid or any of those things. And they become a victim of that circumstance, whatever it is. And for me, I think I just learned, like, no matter what happened when you were 8, 9, 10, whatever, it sucks what I went through and some of the things that these other people went through, but you still have to be responsible for what's happening from this day forth. And if you're not willing to take that responsibility and you want to lean on that crutch, that's fine. Just stay where you're at, and you'll always be there. But if you want to get past that, start working on something different,
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. That's the ultimate goal of this podcast is to get people to live a refined life. And part of that is like you said, forgiving yourself for whatever wrong you've done. I mean, and just moving on,
right.
Removing the crutches and not avoiding the work that you've got to do to accomplish your goals.
Yeah.
I mean,
which makes me think of this, that all right, last time I came to your house, I'm just gonna be honest with you, I didn't tell you, but I went in the refrigerator and there was a little thing of food in there. It was, but I ate that food and I acted like I didn't. And it was somebody's lunch. And I ate somebody's lunch. I just want you to know that. It might have been yours. It might have been somebody else. He got 6 kids, so it might have been one of your kids' food. I don't know. But anyways, I forgave myself long before this podcast, but I just want you to know that. So if you were sitting there at like 12 o'clock and I'm like, man, where's that steak I was going to eat? Did somebody eat my steak? I didn't eat it.
Was it Wagyu?
Yeah, it must have been Wagyu.
Yeah.
It was really good.
That didn't get put
Really
back in the refrigerator, man. Wagyu does not go in the refrigerator.
It goes right into your belly.
Yep.
All right, Emma, are you ready? Let's ask them a question. Let's go.
How old were you when you started to sing?
I wrote my first song when I was 5.
Woo.
Sing it.
It was getting married is a good thing. That's all I remember of it, because my brother was getting married and I found out later that wasn't necessarily true because they got divorced like 2 years later. So getting married is not necessarily always a good thing. But
you want to hear my first song I ever wrote?
What?
It's called Mystery. This is no joke. It's the first song I wrote. It's a mystery, but I gotta pee. Driving me insane. I was listening to a lot of Nirvana at the time. Driving me insane. Gotta let it drain. Don't know why. I gotta unzip my fly. I better XYZ before they catch me. It was all about me peeing in the Walmart parking lot that day. My mom said, you can't just pee in the Walmart parking lot. I said, yes, I can. I just did.
You know what's so funny about that? So Allie, my daughter that comes up and sings with me a lot, she wrote this song when she was like 8. And I hear it coming from the back seat and she goes, I've got to pee, but no one's gonna come with me. They're not gonna let me pee. Me, go pee. And it's been stuck with me ever since.
Man, her pee song is so much better than mine.
So we officially have 2 new pee songs.
Yes, 2 pee songs.
And we know Vinny's got a thing for Walmart.
Yeah, I do. Everything I got on from Walmart.
2 songs from Walmart.
I got Walmart flowers, Walmart clothes, everything but Walmart shoes. Actually, I do have a pair of Walmart shoes, and they're great.
I love
Hey,
it.
Walmart, sponsor. I'm a walking billboard. I'm as big as a billboard. Let's do this thing.
Walmart, if you're out there, we're ready for a sponsor. Andy Frisella, First Form. These shirts, man. Like, let's
Is he
go.
on First Form?
He does.
I did that 75 hard challenge.
I'm currently in it.
Oh,
well, yeah?
Day
Congratulations.
7.
I read it. That's it. That's as far as I got. I read it and I was like, nah.
What scared? What made you say?
Oh, the whole thing.
Okay.
It was, what started with the 75. That was the part that got me the most.
75
It's like
old
75. What?
I
No.
was doing 30.
See,
I
that's
made it
my
4
way in the
hours.
gym. Anything
4
over
hours.
10 reps is too much. I'm like you. Like we need 4 sets of 12. I'm good at 10.
You know, I told you
Right.
my wife's a bodybuilder.
Uh-huh.
So I'll never forget the first time she said, hey, we're going to do shoulders today. I'm like, okay, I'm awesome at shoulders. I can overhead press 315 pounds. Let's do this thing. And then she gives me a set of 15-pound weights. And then she says, we're doing hundreds. I'm like, I can do 100 with this. So I start just whack. I'm like bat wings over here, just flapping them out. She goes, no, slow down. Just it comes up and then stop and then slowly back down and then come up and then slowly back down. And I got to about number 6. I'm like, I was like, all right, so we're not using our quick twitch muscles here. We're slowing down here is all we're doing. So anyways, needless to say, with 15 pounds, my wife can make you feel like less of a man. So.
It's I'm gonna tell you, 75 hard is not it's not for the faint of heart. That's for damn sure. I mean, it's called hard for a reason. Taylor was about to say he started up what I guess the same day after me, right? Yeah, day after. And you know, he realized real quick it wasn't for him in that moment.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Just
right?
wait till you get to phase 2.
I'll never see it.
Well, I'll open it up on my phone because I have felt it every time, because you have to take a 10-minute cold shower every morning
Right.
or sometime during the day. You got to read more, and reading already is hard for me. I was like, I'll just listen to Audible. Like, no, you actually have to read.
Yep.
I'm like, I'm dyslexic. Too bad. Don't make excuses. Go get it done.
Figure
Anyways,
it out. FYE.
yeah, there's a lot.
FYE,
Yeah.
if you know what that stands for. Fuck your excuses.
I was sitting there trying to think. I'm like, I used to shop there and get my music at there. Or that was Fright. Anyways, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the challenge on it. I lost about 21 pounds or so. But what I noticed was how much my inflammation and stuff just went down.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was just, I kind of made my workouts every day. I'd do one hardcore lifting type workout and one walk or jog. You know, I don't really jog that good. Or I'd swim or I'd bike or whatever. Of course, you got to do one outside each time. So can't tell you how many times I was pulling. I got a rower in my garage, just pulling my rower outside in the middle of the thing. Getting rained on the whole time. That sucked.
Yeah, no, it's
Walking in wet shoes sucks.
that might be my night tonight. I still have to get my 45-minute walk, jog, whatever it's going to be in, and my fear is it's going to be raining, and it will be our first one in the rain. But
Hear me out.
I'm all ears.
Open your garage door, and only put your head and your heart and that part of your body outside. Keep your shoes inside. Don't get wet shoes, bro. Just as long as you keep your shoes on the inside, you're still outside. You're still in the elements.
So since you did it, what outside of weight loss, right? What do you think your biggest takeaway is?
I read a lot. I mean, I started off reading this book that my wife had. She goes, "Oh yeah, it's a great book." Well, I get into it, and it's this book from Robert Kiyosaki, who I normally like, but the whole book is about how to network market. I'm like, nah, I done did that. I did that in my 20s and 30s, and I don't want to do that anymore. So anyways, that's what the whole thing was about. Some good lessons in there about just sticking with stuff and all that, but overall book was pretty boring. And then I ended up switching to the Bible, and I kept reading my Bible every single day, and I was finding so many things, and I was sharing it. I was like, I get done, I go to social media, like, dude, I just read this in the Bible, you know, and I'd post it. And I think that was probably one of my favorite things about the whole deal. And it was also the hardest for me going into it. Like, I have no problem doing 2 45-minute workouts a day. I was on Biggest Loser. We worked out 8 hours a day.
Absolutely.
Food, I generally eat pretty good anyways. The biggest thing that I did there was I cut out my bread during that time, because I'm one of those, I love sandwiches. I'm a sandwich guy. So I'm like, give me a sandwich, you know, and it's always like, oh, it's got good stuff, and I'm eating whole grain bread. I got my turkey. I got this. You feel like you're doing good. And then you realize that bread just sits in your stomach and just holds water and just weighs you down. So try to stay as far away from bread now as I can. Started today, actually. I didn't start the hard 75, but last night I saw some pictures of me on stage. I'm like, yep, my belly's looking a lot bigger than I want it to look. So today we're starting something new. When
I see you, I just see just a beast. Like, man,
you know what? Thank you, buddy.
Dude, you're a beast of a man. And
I'm gonna hug you when we get done with this. I'm hugging you, bro.
I think you look fantastic.
Thank you. I don't really feel negative about the way. Like, he actually told me earlier. He goes, the first time ever this morning, you told me somebody you had to lose that gut. And he goes, I've never heard you speak negative of yourself. I'm like, no, I wasn't being negative. I was just being honest.
Yeah.
You know, I said, I'm happy. I love.
Well, let me correct. I've never heard you say anything besides "I'm the sexiest man here."
Yeah. Well, I'm still. Hang on. Let's just straighten something out.
I still am. I'm just saying I could be sexier.
I could be sexier than I currently am myself. Is all I'm saying. You know? I'm still first place, but I'm second behind what I could be. You know,
the fact that you can do the splits on stage and follow that with the worm, like, let's go, right? Like, unreal.
You know what's so funny? That me doing the splits and the worm both come because I was on stage just, flat-footing, kicking it, dancing. Butter, my partner in trailer choir, he was like, man, if you could do the splits, we'd never have to worry about food again. I'm like, I'll do the splits tomorrow, And I took Waterloo for like 6 years. So I was like, I'll do this thing, And I tried to go down to a split because I used to could, and quickly realized that my flexibility was no longer there. So I started working on it every day, did the splits every day until I could do it. I don't know if we ever won't eat again, but so far I have not ate. And then the pop worm, he was like, man, if you could do the pop worm, we'd have more. We'd never have to worry about money again. And I'm like, well, I used to do up downs in football all the time. So I didn't even practice it. I got in the middle of a show. We were playing Last Man Standing. I started feeling it, It's a song about getting hyped up. So I go and I just jump right into the worm, and I don't do it like normal. I don't just fall, kind of roll into it. I jump in the air and I land and I hit my hands and I roll it backwards. Well, the first time I didn't quite hit my hands quick enough, and I realized very quickly that when your nose and your face hits the ground from about 4 or 5 feet up in the air when you jump, and you're a 300. Well, back then I was almost 500-pound man. Everything busted, and I got up, and we're doing last man standing at Bluesboro up here in Murfreesboro.
Yep.
And I jump up, my nose is just bleeding everywhere, and I'm like, yeah, rising up to be the last. And I'm just bleeding. Everybody's like, the crowd went wild. I'm like, man, I need to get some fake blood, do this every time, dude. But that's how I learned how to do the worm. I was like, it's just like an up, down in football. So let's go.
I love it. Addy, you got one more? You said you had 2 questions for him.
How did you guys come up with the name Nashville Cartel?
It was an accident. We started playing together, 5-6 years ago? Longer?
Longer than that. No, it was right. I think our first, we've been playing together for probably 15 years, but our first official charity tour that we did together, we actually went to Florida. That would have been right at like a week after I got married. I think you took me to Florida for 10, 15 days, a week after we got married, not we got married. Right. After me and my wife got married. But yeah, we went to Florida and we did this whole Christmas tour, Christmas for Kids and Toys for Tots. And we raised, I can't remember, we did 10 shows in 12 days.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And it was really cool. I enjoyed that. But that's when we kind of started saying, maybe this is a thing that we're doing together.
Well, we continue to do things, and then we got tired of, because we also put Jared Weeks in there from Saving Abel, and people kept coming up and asking, who are you guys? And we're like, oh, this is Jared Blake, and I was on The Voice, and this is, we got tired of explaining everything. And one day I just said Nashville Cartel, and it was based off of a night that my wife and I had ran a few years back, that we wanted to rebel against the way the music industry handled things in Nashville typically. And little did I know when I said that day how that was going to fit right in line with some of the other things we're going to discuss today with Music with a Mission and Live to Be, and it just became the brand. And so for us, I don't think it's really about us being Nashville Cartel. We really want to keep it branded with friends and just keep bringing more people into it. And it's all basically just a movement of artists that want to do something different, do something positive.
Heck yeah. All right, so I'm gonna let Emma ask one more question, and then we're gonna dive into why we're truly here today. Rock and roll, girl. It's your go.
Is it fun to be on stage?
Yeah, it's awesome. This is the best thing ever.
One of my favorite places to be.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel like the world is a stage, though. I feel like I'm never off stage, really, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you're always on.
I'm always on.
Really? No one has noticed that about you at all.
I know, that's the thing. Nobody even notices how much time and effort I put into making people love life, okay?
That's a refined life.
Hey, you said we were going to dive in, but I'm not a great diver, but I'm a really good cannonball. Can we cannonball into it instead of diving in?
We're going to cannonball.
Right.
We are going to cannonball.
I'm talking about this pool's going to have half the water in it when we get out.
So I've got one more question, follow up to her question. How did either one of you experience stage fright at the beginning, or were you just naturally into it? Like, did you just walk on stage and there was no fear?
I had fear before I started doing the music that I really wanted to do. It was like once I found the music that spoke to me, there was no fear whatsoever. But I think I grew up in church, and so everyone pushed you. If you were going to sing, then you needed to sing Christian music, and it just didn't feel right. So like, I think I probably did 8, 9, 10 solos or something like that, whether it be church or school or whatever. And it always felt awkward, felt weird. And then a talent show set up, and I was probably in 8th grade. And I chose to do Alan Jackson's Don't Rock the Jukebox. And you didn't really move with Christian music. And that was where I found myself. I remember the moment. It was on one of those Don't Rock the Jukebox. I'm just standing behind this microphone. I'm not performing or anything. And then all of a sudden I just took the microphone down and hit my knees, and the crowd went nuts. And I was like, whoa. And I was just addicted to it. And so, I mean, for you guys, the times that you guys have seen us perform and stuff, we're always on stage doing the acoustic thing. But I think both of us much more prefer, I mean, that's really cool, but we much more prefer probably the performance side of things. Like, right. I want to jump off of crap. I want to climb up crap. Like I want to do whatever. And you clearly see what he wants to do at the end of the show.
I still do the same thing.
Someone has to play guitar.
Yeah. I think for me, just on that point, it kind of, I love it all. I love being on stage. I love performing. I don't care if it's full band, acoustic, me and somebody sitting in the house together. I'm like, hey, listen to this new song I wrote. But for so long, I was known as, like, most people would say, I didn't even know you sing. I'm like, yeah, I was in a trio. I sang. I had
a record deal.
Had a record deal. I was signed to Universal whenever I was a kid. I was on Toby Keith's record label when I was 22. Like, yeah, we didn't know you sang. I just thought you danced. We just thought you were the funny fat guy that danced. I'm like, well, crap, So as we started doing these acoustic shows together, I would literally have people come out like, oh my gosh, man, you actually can sing and you got good songs. They're like, did you write the Trailer Choir song? I'm like, yeah, we wrote them together. I was like, did you? I mean, I felt like they just thought I was a sideshow. So it's been great for my spirit. And it's actually been good for me developing, being around guys like Jared, who are truly great singers. It's helped me become a better singer. It's still hard to sing harmonies with me, but it's really helped me become a better singer, because it's made me realize, like, certain things. Like, I used to think you had to be at your big note all the time, and listen to Jared sing, you hear the nuances. He cut one of my songs called More Than Words, and when I sang it, I just kind of sang it full blast, but when he did it, like, he took it and he told this story, and it was like this deep, dark part of the story, and all of a sudden it's like this redemption part, and it felt like you're watching a movie, and it gets to the part where it's supposed to be big, and it's big then.
Yeah.
But the rest of the time, it's like getting you set up to, why is it going to be this big part? And so that's one of the things I've just learned over the past, 7 or 8 years of just touring with him and playing and being around guys that are those type of vocalists, Yeah. I mean, he was on a show called The Voice, and I was on a show called The Biggest Loser. So
there is that. Well, I know I can say, and my kids and T-Day here can confirm this. I've spoke with Jared about it. Y'all song Ain't No Grave is probably one of my favorite songs of all time. And she can confirm it's at the top of my Spotify, and I play it several times a day. But to hear you two do it live, I mean, when y'all do a show and don't play it, I leave upset. So
me too.
Please don't do that to me.
I don't think there's been a show we hadn't played it in a while, but he's gonna tell us. Let me tell you.
Let's see, I'm trying to think, who was the tall guy that we did for the Alley event, the give back at the Walnut House?
Tall guy.
Super tall. It was the last one.
Matt
Stell.
Matt Stell. Yes, it was Matt Stell that night. Y'all did not play it, and I was upset. But Matt Stell was awesome.
Yeah.
We thought he was fantastic. So I think that's a good segue into why we're really here. So let's cannonball. And I'm going to ask, because I think it's very important, like the goal of this episode and you guys being here is we need to make people aware of what we're doing, what you guys have going on, what's to come. And we need this to touch some folks, and we need people to make action, right? So I'm going to ask Jared if you could pray over this next section, because I think that's important, and I think, that's going to lead us in the right direction. So if you can
absolutely, dude, that's awesome. We've done a lot of podcasts, a lot of interviews, and that kind of stuff. No one's ever asked me to pray.
Here we go.
Except for MC Hammer. He's the only one.
But he has all of us. So.
It was a collective group.
All right, let's do this.
All right.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you in a word of prayer. We thank you so much for this day. We thank you so much for good people and just being able to live in a nation where we can speak about you freely. Thank you so much for the events that we've been doing and the events that we're moving forward. And thank you for this opportunity today to get to share with everybody listening out there what exactly we're all about and what we're doing. We ask, Lord, that you will help us to continue to show the love and the grace and the mercy that you so freely gave us to everyone we come in contact with. We love you, Lord. We praise you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Let's rock and roll. So let's dive right into this thing, or as Big Vinny would say, cannonball into it. So leading up to COVID, y'all were going schools. How many schools and how many years?
So my wife and I started it originally, and that was started probably 2015. So between 2015 and 2020, a little over 300 schools.
Perfect. So let's just give it to us. Tell us what we've done, where we're going. you know,
Okay.
where we're at, where we're going, and let's rock and roll.
Yeah.
For
So originally it was started because of The Voice. On The Voice, they announced me as a recovering addict on the first episode, which was not something we were prepared for. You know, like we did the interviews and we talked about all this stuff, and they're like, "Hey, is there anything we shouldn't talk about?" And I was like, "Nah, man, I'm open book. It's fine." I didn't think they were going to announce me like that. Like I thought maybe that might come up at some point in time, but not like, and now welcome to the stage, recovering addict and father of 6, Jared Blake. And you're like, what?
Now go sing.
Go
Do
sing.
your
Right.
best performance now.
Right. And so my Twitter, that Twitter was the big thing in 2011. And Twitter went nuts with like most people don't know it, but on the sidebar of Twitter there's this little gray line. I think it's still gray, little gray line. And when you have messages in there, there'll be this tiny little dot to let you know that you have some messages.
right.
But you can actually get to a spot where the entire bar is yellow. And there were so many questions coming in because it was 14 million people every single night. There were so many questions coming in that I could literally just sit and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll, and I'd never get to the bottom of it. And so I dedicated 2 to 3 hours every day to just answering people's messages.
Part-time
And
job.
Yeah, and I never even came close. You'd never see the yellow leave at all. It was just always full. And the more that you worked with people, the more that you talked to people, the more you realized that it was almost impossible to help people. When I got help, it was because I reached out and then started doing something about it.
Right.
And that's a very small percentage of people who make a change. I mean, I know Vinny can attest to even Biggest Loser and different shows like that. You know, most people, even if they make any sort of change, they don't stick with it.
They fall back.
Stay. Right.
They go backwards.
Yeah, it's like me with ice cream, essentially. I can't stay away from ice cream. Or
I honestly
brownies
blame
or
the ice
cookies.
cream. I don't blame you for that. I
Thank
blame
you.
The ice cream.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So anyway, we started seeking out like, well, how could we make more use of our time? Instead of just answering these questions, we started thinking about, well, where did it start? Well, mine really came back to childhood. And I was talking to my brother one day and I asked him, hey, you know, I did all this stupid crap, you know, growing up, and my oldest brother did the same thing. Middle brother did. And I was like, hey, why didn't you get into that? And he said, I didn't have time. I was like, what do you mean you didn't have time? And he was like, since I was 5, I knew I wanted to be a doctor. And he was like, so I didn't fit into my schedule. He was like, I had to study, I had to work hard. And he was like, and it was, you know, high school, college, med school, med school. And he was like, there just wasn't time to fit in anything really. So he's like, I didn't have time to screw up.
Right.
I was like, wow, thinking about like the way we handle things and the way most have been taught is like, hey, don't do this bad crap because bad things are going to happen. And like, it's just this fear tactic and a negative approach about things. He didn't need anything negative. He had a vision. He had a dream. He had something that he thought that was his purpose. And so he was going to go for it. And so you didn't have to tell him, hey, don't do drugs. Hey, don't stay out too late, because his focus was, I've got to do this, this, and this so I can get this grade, so I can get in this school and blah, 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 you know?
Yeah.
And so we started thinking a lot of our programs that go into schools, it's all fear-based. And a lot of our churches, the way we grew up, were very fear-based.
Don't do drugs.
Right.
Dare.
Yeah, right. And it's all just a bunch of statistics
I
and
do know the
stuff.
song.
And so for me, I thought about the reality is that, you know, DARE was one of those programs that came in and they told us all this bad stuff that was going to happen. And the first night I got high, it was awesome. Like nothing bad happened at all.
Right.
And second night I did it, same thing. And it kept going that way. And you start to realize like, oh yeah, the bad stuff that happened, that was like 10 years in.
Yeah.
You know, it was once you were like a full-blown addict that all the bad stuff started happening.
Right.
Not to say things can't, but typically it's not. And so when you do something that society or your parents or the church or your school has told you is bad, and that you're to destroy your life over it, and then that doesn't happen and it was awesome, you just don't, it discredits everyone around you.
Absolutely.
And so we started going from the approach of going, you know what? I think these kids just want honesty. I think they want to be treated like adults. You know, they're 15, 16, 17 years old, man. They're about to go out into life. You know, they're about to vote. They're about to go to war. They're, you know, none of us wanted to be told what to do. So I would come into the schools and I'd start off with, hey guys, but I'd always start off with a song, and we bring in stage productions like smoke, lights, all that kind of stuff. And start off with a song. And then after that ends, I go, guys, before I tell you why I'm here, let me tell you why I'm not here. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm not here to tell you not to drink, not to smoke, not to cuss. I'm not here to tell you to go to college. I'm not here to tell you. We go through all these different little things that I'm not here for. I go, the reason I'm here today is I just want to tell you about my life. I want to tell you where I screwed up, how things turned out, where I'm at today. Can I do that? Tell you guys a story, play some music? And they always say yes. And then we kind of start moving forward through my story and then play a few more songs that have something to do with that part of my life. And we take questions at the end of it. And the way it unfolded the very first time, I remember asking the question, I want you to name someone that you either know of personally in your life or on TV, someone that you look up to. Tell me who's your most favorite person and why. And I picked out 10 different kids to come down and tell me. And right after I said it, I thought, this is going to fail. This is not, I don't know why I just asked that question, but I'm going to get some horrible answers right now. And this is not going to go the way that I wanted to, but it didn't. Fast forward in over 300 schools times 10. So that's 3,000 kids. And not a single one of them has ever said what America would tell you is why someone's special. No one ever said anything about money, cars, houses, jobs, fame. It was never about the things that we seem to be focused on.
Right.
It was always about the way he loves me, the way she takes care of me, the way they spend time with me, they play with me. War hero comes up a lot. Either way, they're always nothing but great moral things. And the ability that gave us was to start and realize that you're not your job. You're not a title. Right. You're not just a doctor. My brother's more than a doctor. I'm more than a musician. I'm
Absolutely.
a human being. I have all sorts of feelings and plans and all different purposes going through life. And when you can identify that the most important characteristic to you is the way someone loves you, the way they take care of you, you now know the most important thing for you to be. That's the identity. I don't want to identify as a musician. I want when people to see me to think that guy loves everyone he comes in contact with. That guy's just an amazing person. And what I do for a living or where I go after that, that's just an added. That's just features of me.
Well, it puts you in the position to do that, right? Like
Right.
It's kind of the way I look at people might say, well, why are you so focused on making money? Well, if I don't make it, I can't give it.
Right. But that's a whole different focus, though. That's you see that I just need the money in order to do this, right. And this. And so for Vinny and I, for the last few years, raising money to do the things that we're doing, it has nothing to do with I got to make a bunch of money. It has everything to do with I have to have this money in order to do these things.
To give back.
Right.
You know, you say that, and I watched an interview with you may not believe this, but I watched it with Pitbull because I like Pitbull. But I watched this interview and he was talking about,
I thought you meant you were watching an interview with Pitbull. Yeah. Like Pitbull and you were watching an interview.
We go down to Miami, we hang out, we do all kinds of things.
I was like, how do I not know this story already?
No, I was watching an interview. I was watching an interview of Pitbull giving an interview. Anyways, I was watching this interview and he's in there talking and they're asking about his story and how, at first he was driven by money. He wanted to be, rich. He wanted to have all these things. He wanted the women and the cars and the clothes and all these things. And he said he got that, and no matter how much he got of it, he still wasn't happy.
Yeah.
And he kept saying, like, people say money can't make you happy, but I'll prove them wrong. And he kept getting all more stuff and more cars and more things. And all of a sudden, he's like, he finally figured it out. He said, money can make you happy. You just have to be willing to give it all away.
Yeah.
He said, because have you ever seen what somebody feels like when they don't got enough money to buy groceries for their kids and you hand them $1,000? He's like, they get happy. They get so happy they cry.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool that you said that, and I think that's one of the things for us is we want to help people get to the point to where they can help people because you can't pour from an empty glass.
That's right.
And so, we always hear that analogy and then you think, okay, well, if I get my glass full enough, I'll be able to pour out. Well, the truth is like your cup can be overflowing, you know what I mean? But if you're not doing the right things with it, you're still never going to find that true happiness. And actually, if y'all remember that, it was like during the pandemic or whatever that, what was that app that came out where you talk to people back and forth in the rooms?
MySpace.
No, I did love MySpace though.
Bring back MySpace.
I can't remember what it was called. It was like Community or something like that. I can't remember what it was called, but you go on there and you talk and they have these rooms and you just go in there and open forum and talk. Well, I kept going in there and I would hear these dudes that were multi-bazillionaires, JT Fox and the the main guy, John Legree, who owns T-Mobile and all this other thing. And I hear them talking, and they're like literally discussing numbers. Like, yeah, I did this $100 million deal the other day, and blah blah blah. And finally, a guy come in there and ask him, "It's like, when is enough money enough money? Like, when do you have enough money?" And then literally the guy that was speaking at the time, Naveen Jain or something like that. He's like a big pharmaceutical guy, like created some kind of special medicines and all this. And he's Indian, and he said something about to the effects of, "I'm not making money for me now. I'm making money to help other people." He's like, I could never spend all the money I have. There's no possible way. But he goes, everything I'm doing now is to keep this person working at this facility, you know, and I have all these people working for me, and I want to increase their salaries and their pays and their money. And I just thought that was cool. It's like, he's no longer working to satisfy his own wallet or his own cup. He's now pouring over into all these other cups,
That's right.
you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think that's what we want to do essentially with what we're doing. As you know, we're not multi-bazillionaires yet or nothing like that, but we're able to have all this knowledge and all these things from all
I
these
like that he said
experiences.
yet. That's
I
Vinny
will
for you.
be.
It's always like, I'm not
Yeah.
yet, but
Well, I mean, theoretically, you know, net worth I am, but it's all those dang bills that I still owe to the bank that are keeping me from being a millionaire in my actual fluid bank account. But anyways, I'm just saying, like, I want to be able to be that light for some of these people, because I know what it's like to not have that light. I know what it's like to not be that. And I think the only way we can do that is, you know, be an extension of Jesus Christ, be an extension of God. And what we're doing is, you know, he is the light, right? You know, he is everything that we're supposed to try to be like. It doesn't mean we're ever going to reach that level, you know, till we die and go to heaven one day and we get forgiveness for all the other crap that we've done, you know. But I guess we have forgiveness already, but when it's all recognized, and we go to heaven. But if we can be that example, and we know that when we go in to speak at these schools, there's so many times and people are like, yeah, but what are you leaving behind? What are you doing? You know, are you really helping anybody? Because maybe you give them motivation for a day. Some kids may only take that motivation for a day. They might, and most of them probably will.
And
only take
on
it for a
that,
day.
I mean, like, so, I mean, I had a decent amount of motivation growing up, but at the same time, I look over my life and there's still, you know, a handful of moments where someone said something to you that still resonates to this day. And I had a very blessed life in that. So many of these kids don't have that. And it's not about how much money they have. It's not about, you know, where their parents live or whatever. I mean, we got just as many rich kids that the parents aren't hanging out with them as we do poor kids that
Absolutely.
parents aren't hanging out with them. And we look at it, and I don't think you can fully understand. I'll give you even an example. I mean, you've met my wife. She's a sweetheart, amazing person. But she originally was, when we met, she was handling all my marketing and then moved into management for me as well before we were ever together. And she calls me one day. I was in Montana at this little school, or chain of a run of schools. And she calls me, and all I was talking about was the schools and stuff. And she was like, "Hey, babe," she's like, I love you, but I didn't get into this business to manage a charity. Like, you're an artist. I want to do my job. I don't really want to do that. Like, it's cool that you're doing this, but you've become obsessed with it. This is all you do now.
It's all you do.
And I was like, what are you doing over the next couple of days? And she was like, I got a few things, but I can change them. Why? And I said, I'm gonna fly you out here. I want you to come see what's happening.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, that's not necessary. Like, that's not my job. This is not what I do. And I was like, please just come out. So I fly her out, get someone to pick her up, because I was at a school at the time. And she walks into the school, and the school that she happens to walk into, there are 40 kids in front of me. There are, that's kindergarten through senior, 40 kids in the school, 5 of which who live in an RV on the playground.
Okay.
In Montana, no heat, no air. They're getting warm by starting a fire on the playground every morning. They shower at the school. Every one of the kids were on breakfast, lunch, dinner, and I didn't know this existed till then, weekend breakfast, lunch, and dinner that was sent home with them.
Wow.
They said 90% of the children, 100% of the children had at least one parent currently incarcerated, and 90% of them had 2 parents incarcerated. Those kids that were living in an RV lived by themselves in that RV with, you know, the older sister watching them or whatever. And they were basically, I was talking to the principal about it, and he was like, I mean, it's so overran right now around here. It's like the foster care, any of that kind of stuff. They won't even come in and take any more kids because they can't.
Yeah.
And these children, like, they just had none of them had computers. None of them had phones. Rare for them to have a TV or anything. Like, this is America. Like, it's crazy. And it was down from like Polson, Montana, which goes down as like one of the wealthiest towns in America. And it was literally like 45 minutes outside of this town. And it was just earth shattering. And I get to the end of my speech and I said, anybody have any questions? And the first question came from like a 7-8-year-old girl. And she said, can I have a hug? Like, yeah, right.
Let's get you right in the heart right there.
And I looked over at my wife and I said, yeah, baby. And she starts coming up and I look over at my wife and she's like just bawling over there. And afterwards, she talks to a few of the teachers and stuff. And I didn't have to say anything. I was just like, well, and she was like, yeah, this is what you do now.
Yeah.
And
this is now our job.
And so for us, it's become, music has literally just been a way that we finance what we were doing.
Yeah.
It was the first major sponsor we brought on, which helped us do those 300 schools. It was, I was probably into doing it for 2 years before my wife realized, like, hey, this is technically our money, isn't it? Like, you're just spending our money to go out and do this. And I was like, yeah,
something like that.
Yeah. And so fast forwarding through that, but yeah, one of the things I wanted to hit on real quick, because you brought it up and you brought it up, is moving forward, we realized that with these kids, it's easy for us to talk about The Voice, talk about radio, talk about the celebrity friends that we have or whatever, and to get them to start listening. But that's the typical focus of America. So the underlining message that we're really pushing is we want them to know about you. We want them to know about, in community of Murfreesboro here, Andy Holmes and Ben Blake from Old South, and all the Jamie No, all these men and women that have just done amazing things for charities over and over and over and over again, and continue to be that shining light in their community. We want them to see that these are the people that need to be your heroes. These are the people that you need to be looking up to.
Absolutely.
It's really easy when you're famous. It's really easy to make your life look really special. But knowing a lot of those people, I can honestly tell you, most of them are probably the most miserable people that I know. Like, they're just because like what he was talking about with Pitbull, they're still searching for what's going to be enough, enough, and it never is. If you think back to like Switchfoot, that song says, we were meant to live for so much more, but we lost ourselves.
Yeah.
That was what really hit us in 2020 was, what am I living for exactly? So the name of the charity is Live to Be, ironically enough. When Vinny and I started working together, the first time really, he brought me in to have me perform in a thing that he had created called Music with Mission. That's where everything has really gone full circle. So you want to tell them about it? And
well, so at the time I was a stepdad, and every other week my stepson would come in. Hey, I'm selling chocolate. Hey, I'm selling, wrapping paper. Hey, I'm selling cookies. Can you buy these donuts? And I loved all that. But I got tired of, like, man, I say, wouldn't it be cool if there was like actually something that you wanted to go around and sell for your kid? I was like, they're out there raising, they're basically, when we're looking at America and we're obese, and I just come off Biggest Loser, and we're looking at America and we're super obese, but we got our kids selling donuts, cookies, chocolates, all these things, and they're selling it. And the prize that they can get if they sell enough is they can get a pizza party and popcorn party at their school. I'm like, how are we so obese? I don't know. But I just kind of had this idea. I'm like, man, I said, I want to raise money for the school. That's what what we're kind of selling. Well, then I get to asking the principal at my local school. I'm like, man, I'll do one of these donut sales. Like, how much do y'all really make? Oh man, we made $2,200 on the last one. I was like, how many boxes of donuts did you sell? Oh, I think it was somewhere around 25,000. I'm like, wait,
it's bad math. Yeah,
you're not even getting $1 a box,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't even know what that wouldn't even. I mean, it's like surely you would get $1. I mean, at least you make 25,000 if you sold 20. But no, you're getting like a half a cent or a cent, or I don't know. It was like terrible. I'm like, this is not good, y'all.
That's like streaming services pay right there.
You got 937 kids trying to sell donuts, and you got this community of 9,000 people buying these donuts. So, to anywhere between 10 and 20,000 boxes is not a huge number for that many people in that, in a community like that. So you're like, but they're only giving you this much of it.
Yeah.
So I said, man, what if we just did a concert? I'll give them 20% of all the ticket sales. Plus, I'll let them do all the concessions, which is where a lot of the money is at in concerts anyways.
Absolutely.
So I'll get a sponsor to come on board, which was remarkably the sponsor that worked with him in all the schools as well. It was actually from a drug rehab up in Detroit or Grand Rapids. And he came on board, and he put in $30,000 for us to put on this first show. We had Colt Ford. I asked Jared to come out because I knew he had a great message for the kids, because he had already kind of started to speak, but he wasn't like in the full blown doing schools yet. We had actually discussed on the phone a couple of times about doing stuff at schools. And so I said, man, you got to come out here and do this. And I knew it was with the drug recovery, and I knew he was getting all those questions. So I'm like, come out here and be part of this. Well, he come out and killed it. You know, we ended up raising $20,000 for the school in one day. So there wasn't no go and deliver these boxes. Now wait for this. Now pick up the money from over here.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, here's your concert ticket. You buy it on this link online. You know, the kids are selling the tickets, whatever. You pick up your tickets from the school, not from the kids. The kids are never touching the money. They don't ever have to take a bunch of cash. You just have the list, and they come to school. They pick up their tickets. And then other people bought them online. So we gave them 20% of all ticket sales, even the ones they didn't sell. We sold them on online campaigns, radio, stuff like that. Ended up with about 1,500 tickets sold.
Nice.
And about 2,000 people there, because I didn't realize that people in this town would take and copy the same ticket a bunch of times. I didn't realize that was a trick you could do back then.
It was the first show. So I mean, I'll give you that.
So I'm sitting there, there's ticket 127.
Wait, people are dishonest.
I'm like, wait, 127, 127, 127, 127, 127. I was like, how many 127s do we have? 127, 127, 126. Oh, okay. Now we're past that one. 126, 126, 126. Crap, you know. But no, I just realized that, you know, I wanted to do something that was going to make money for the school because they needed it, you know, and actually in that program, we were actually doing it for their music program because the arts were getting cut from all these schools at the time. And they had won all these awards in this tiny little school in Adams. It was Adams County, Illinois. And the big city there was Quincy, Illinois. So they had won all these awards for their choir and their band and all this stuff. And it was about to get wiped out because they just didn't have the money to keep it going. And they were doing every fundraiser they could. But then we raised $20-something thousand, and all of that went to that music program and kept that music program. It's still going to this day.
It's awesome.
And, you know, that's when I kind of started feeling that call to action. At first, it was just like, hey, I'm tired of selling wrapping paper and cookies and cakes and stuff. And I'd rather sell a concert ticket, you know, and I just happened to be in concert. So got a bunch of my buddies and put this thing on. And the guy that was there, Pear, that ended up being the sponsor for a lot of what he was doing, loved Jared. Like, he loved his story, loved his passion for what he was doing and everything else. And, you know, I was so happy to see that they were going to actually do something. And I think that's one of the things I love about Jared is so many times people sit around and they say, man, we should, you know, somebody should do something. Somebody should do something. Somebody should do something. And Jared looks at me one day and says, man, we should do something. So it's quit trying to put it off on somebody else and be that person, you know, be the somebody. And now it's just turned into, I mean, over the last, since September of 2020, I mean, we're over $600,000 now raised for local community charities through doing these shows that y'all buy tables to, y'all come out and y'all support. But to me, when you look at that number, that's such an incredible thing. And you know what? That's all 99% of it has went to all the other charities. And I think for us, it was just over this last little bit, we're like, hey man, we can go back to speak at schools now. So we should probably start putting money back in our charity so that we can have the money to go speak at these schools and go deliver this message. Well, while we're there, we speak at the schools, we go to the VA hospital, we're meeting with the local TV and radio stations. We're meeting with the Chamber of Commerce. We're saying, hey, let's continue to do more stuff here. Let's put on shows. You know, y'all have a budget. You're going to have some kind of street festival this year in the middle of July. Let us come back. Let us book the talent. Let us bring the charity back in. You know, let's raise. We had a 91-year-old Korean vet homeless in Salina, Kansas. I mean, I don't even know how that happens. I'm just like, how is this 91-year-old veteran homeless? You know? Yeah. So we're trying to raise the money so they can build him a tiny home on a piece of land somewhere, you know? And that's an extreme situation, and I'm hopefully, I mean, there's probably not that many 91-year-old veterans out there homeless anymore, but how many have died out there on those streets because they didn't have anywhere else to go? That's right. You know, and so the passion with the kids, the passion with the veterans, I think is something that just really continues to hit us in the heart. You know, it's
and we do a lot of prison as well. And I think it's the realization of any sort of major transition. You have to refocus at some point. You have to look at, what am I living to be? What do I want out of life? Who has that? How do they get that? How do I start taking control over my own life? And a lot of times, even for the Christian faith, a lot of times we still get in that same spot of like, well, I'm going to pray about it, and that's it.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome that you prayed about it, but he also gave you talents and hands and feet, and you can go out and actually do things to create your own. I use God to create that wisdom and to. I mean, I'll really kind of just get up every day and go, all right, God, this is what I got planned. You let me know if it's not what you wanted. But this is what I'm going to go do, because I don't ever want to be that guy that's sitting and waiting for God to tell me what to do. You know.
Well, I just think it's like when you're saying you pray for people, you should do that. And that's great. And some things, that you don't have the power to change anything other than pray and hope that God, does deliver that way. But a lot of things, it says if you have faith within a grain of a mustard seed, you can go move a mountain. It didn't say that God ain't going to say, yeah, here's a pickaxe and here's a shovel. Go move that mountain. You can do it.
I've never heard it. I've thought about that verse so much, and you just explained it. Like I have to physically move the mountain. No, I didn't realize that.
So I'm saying I got faith. I'm just going to sit here with it.
Well, I'm just glad you're riding with me, big guy.
I'm a pretty good shoveler. I'll be honest with you.
So to come full circle on everything, we were doing the school stuff, and then whenever I realized what he was doing and how he was raising money, we started dabbling in that, but it was 2020 that really came full circle for us, because our careers went completely away.
That's right.
And I don't think people really fully understood that, because it was still like a constant, like, so how's the music industry treating you? It's like, it's not, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like, our entire way of making money is on the road.
Well, but the thing is we were still, like, when the tornado happened, we would lost all of our shows. Hey, can y'all come and do this event for free and play for this charity? Sure. We did it. Hey, there's, this bar is going to go out of business if musicians don't come play, which we've already been playing there for free for years, but the musicians don't come and play and help, the exit in's going to close, or the local's going to close, or this is going to close. We're like, crap, we got to go help, And we realized after about 7 or 8 free shows, we're like, hey, we also don't have any money to pay our bills either,
Yeah.
So it's like, how can we do a hybrid situation where the artists are getting paid, the charities are raising money, the people are, getting what they need, the entertainment, Well,
and the cool thing about God is that he works even when you don't know it. If you just say yes and keep moving on, he'll show you all sorts of plans. And I feel like we're just now at a spot where all these things kept happening, and now you're seeing the whole thing and go, oh, that's what we're doing. And there's kind of an accident what started going on here in that 600,000 that he's talking about, because the reality is I happened to walk into me and my wife were having a date night, went to Addy on Main, which now is no longer a date night. Me and you discussed that. Right. So we were at Addy on Main, and Sean, the owner over there, comes up to me and he goes, hey, you're a musician, right? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, do you know Randy Hauser and Lee Bryce? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, can you get him in here? And I was like, no. It's a very small place, man. Like, you lose your ass. Like, it doesn't make any sense at all. And he was like, well, since we're not having concerts and stuff anymore, he's like, there's a lot of people in the community that own a lot of the companies around here. I think that we could sell these tables at a much higher price because they don't have anywhere to go, and I think they'll come out here and do this. And I was like, I'm on level with you, dude. I don't know who you are. I'm not going to call Lee for you if that's what you're asking right now. Like, I don't know you. And I sat there and thought about it for a minute. I was like, I tell you what, if you bring in another charity, and he was like, oh, dude, he's like, we do things for charities all the time. He's like, we got this one show. He's like, we haven't booked anybody for Ambooks that we'd like to do. I was like, well, why don't we do something bigger than what you've ever done with Ambooks before? And he was like, it sounds awesome. So we discussed what the table price would have to be based off how many tables there were. And the reality was like, these artists get asked to do things for free nonstop. And there's only so many, just like your job, anyone else, there's only so many free jobs you can do before you're like, hey, my kids need shoes.
Right.
And you're hitting in a time period where these artists aren't making any money at all. And so I was like, we're not going to pay them what they would normally get paid, but we are going to pay them to be there so that we can just have good faith of like, hey, this is still your talent and this is still your job. Okay.
Well, I think part of that too just comes from, I'm going to go to my buddy and I can ask him for a favor. I can say, hey, will you come do this for free? And he'll do it. And maybe the second time he'll do it. But about the third time, he's going to be like, I ain't answering the phone when that guy calls me anymore. But I'm always going and doing stuff for free.
Absolutely. And I think most of us don't mind doing in any job. You don't mind doing a discounted job, but like, you worked hard to get where you're at and what you're doing. And we want them to feel respected as well. So, Lee, the first time was the first show, and Lee came in at a quarter of what he would have normally gotten.
No, like a penny of
it was very low. But anyway, we put that together, and I think that night we raised like $22,000 above what it cost to put on the event. And so immediately
you're skipping a part because you got to tell the part where you don't know Sean.
Oh, Sean. So
you
Sean,
got to tell this part because this is my favorite part.
So Sean goes, well, call Lee. This is what we're going to do. And I was like, dude, I still don't know you. I have no reason to believe you or trust you,
you
at
know
all.
How many times people tell us they're going to do
absolutely.
this?
Absolutely. And he's like, well, what do you need? And I was like, 10 grand. Give me 10 grand. And that way I know that you're into this, right? And at least I can, if all else fails, I can be like, hey, Lee, here's 10 grand. Like it didn't work out,
Right.
But I'm not putting my reputation on the line unless you're putting something on the line. Yeah. And he goes, all right. And so the next day I show up and he gives me $10,000 in cash.
Sean.
And I leave and his wife is like, did you just give that guy 10 grand? And he was like, yeah.
And keep in mind, if you don't know Jared, he's got 61 tattoos, and he looks like he might come up and snatch you up if he needed to, because he's a beastly dude. He's got some big old arms on him, big old neck muscles, and he's got all these awesome tattoos. You could be like, I don't know if I'm going to give that guy 10 grand in cash and just see what happens.
He's a strong arm, Sean.
Now that I'm thinking about it, we may have started embellishing to should we say this on stage and that kind of stuff. I'm not sure that it was cash. Now that I think about it, I just know it was 10
either
grand.
way. It was 10 grand.
And I leave though, and she was like, the tattooed guy that you don't know, you just gave him 10 grand, and he was like, that might not have been my smartest decision, huh? And so we move forward with getting Lee contracted, and Sean starts to get nervous because now he's thinking about the fact that, like, I don't know this guy either. And so he calls me and he goes, and Vinny actually, I think Lee responded to Vinny first. And so Vinny put it together. And so Sean calls me and goes, hey, it's going to sound weird, man, but can we FaceTime Lee? And
I just want to make sure this is really happening.
I didn't want to make sure this is actually happening.
So I'm at a dinner party, and he tells me, he's like, dude, we got to get Lee on this. We got to try and get Lee on a FaceTime call. I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, he's at a dinner party,
and I'm like,
I'm in Florida, and Lee is on his pond.
Yeah. So I literally, I call up,
I
I text Lee, I'm like, dude, I know this is going to seem really awkward and odd. Do you mind jumping on a FaceTime call? He goes, oh, sure, buddy. And he opens
like, well, we got to do it right now.
In the middle of our FaceTime call, he pulls in like a 7-pound bass in the middle of he's on his own lake fishing. Pulls in the bass, goes, hey, man, can't wait to come do the show, dude. He goes, I understand. I wouldn't believe them too. He kind of played into it, but it was awesome. But it's just, it's funny, man, how, like you said, God leads you into this stuff. And we didn't know where that was going to go. He called me. I'm like, dude, I hope it happens. I mean, we've had so many times that people are like, dude, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then when it comes time for the money, they're like, what I was trying to do is I was going to see if that so-and-so. I'm like,
it's a nonstop flow. Listen, I got $300,000. All right. And you're like, what?
Well, see, what I was going to do is I thought Pepsi would be on board. I'm like, oh, did you have well, my buddy, he works for the local distributor here. And I thought, man, that they would come on and do that. I mean, this is a real story. This really happened. I mean, people are literally like, well, I know a guy who knows a guy who knew a guy, and I thought that if I just took this to him, they'd jump on it. I'm like, yeah, but you told me you had it. And I already went and told my buddies that, hey, we're going to do this. This is the budget. And they're all like, yeah, we can do it. This is our clear dates. So I've already done all my work. Now I got to go back to my buddies like, hey, man, remember that time I told you were going to make 25 grand? And yeah, it's not going So just wipe that off your calendar. Well, I already passed up other shows while I already said that show was booked. So anyways, it's hilarious.
So we wound up doing, multiple of these events. You've been to a lot of them. And one night, Vinny and I were talking about it. I was like, dude, this is just another form of music with a mission. Yeah. And he was like, yeah, it is. And so Kevin, what is Kevin Boyer from Pace Financial at one of the shows one night, and he was like, hey man, what about your charity? What are you doing? I was like, nothing. I mean, we don't have any sponsors. We're not on the road anymore, so we don't have any sponsors to do anything with. And he was like, well, why can't we just start the same thing that you guys are doing here in Cool Springs?
Yeah.
And make you guys the beneficiary of it. And kind of explained what was going to have to be done. And Pace Financial put up all the money to get that ball rolling.
Nice.
And essentially it created a whole nother idea of realizing that. So instead of being a charity where you're just asking for money, you could be a charity that's always doing something that's worth the value or worth the dollar that people are putting in. Because
That's right.
I mean, you know those tables, and if you look at the price of those tables to sit in that room and get to be 10 foot away from Lee Brice and hear the stories behind the song, like you can't get that anywhere else. And you're going to pay more than that just to get front row tickets to his concert. And you're not going to get to meet him. Nothing's going to really happen, you know? So we looked at it and went, if we can continue to create events that are worth the money, you know, way more than that $20 candle that your kid was trying to sell you, you know, and raise money to do something good simultaneously, we could just keep producing these sort of things. And as that's worked, you know, Vinny said, you know, we're now at 12 shows and we're approaching 700,000, I think, total that's been raised.
Fantastic.
Just on the Cool Spring ones, the deal was I told Kevin, he said, how much to put on the first event? I was like, to get started, we've got to buy all this other stuff and do this and da, da, da. I was like, the first one will be about 30 grand because we have to do all this other crap too. And I said, but this is what I'm going to do. Give me the 30 grand and I'll make you a promise that within 3 shows, I'm going to give away your 30 grand and we're going to fund our charity in the process. And we're still going to have 30 grand left over. And he was like, sounds impossible, but yeah, go for it. And so I asked him to pick out 3 different places that he wanted to give money. He had one place that he picked out, and he's like, you pick out the other 2. And so literally within those first 3 shows, we gave away 30 grand of his money.
Nice.
And we still raised our money and kept going. And so now we're looking at the next evolution of that. And that comes to a 2-part thing. This entire last year, we've been looking for a building to create like Live to Be's event space, to where we were essentially looking at game rooms, coffee shop, wine bar, music venue, just any way that we could bring money into there, selling things that people wanted already to fund keeping that building open so that we could keep a place where our kids could come to us. So a new version of a lot of things that have already existed. The same way we took the DARE program and went, let's kind of move into the future with this. We want to do the same thing with some of our, you know, local places, because I think a lot of the places that are reaching out to our kids aren't places that you necessarily want to go hang out at.
Or even if you want to go,
Like,
you may not want her to go, you know.
That's right. No,
I mean,
She seems like she got a smart head. on
we're
her
really
shoulders, though,
looking
so
at, like, a
yeah.
lot of times with our nonprofits, we build these things that are so lackluster that that's not who my God is.
Right.
Okay. I don't need to bring you to a place that feels broken already, that makes you feel worse about yourself walking in the door. I want to give you something and provide a place that feels like the same thing that my God gave me.
Yeah.
You know, that is a place that's uplifting, that you can go, that you don't have to have a problem to be there. You're just there. And it so happens that if you want to talk about something, you've got people like me and Big Vinny around. And we also realized through that process that there's no real, not that I can find at least, there's no information center anywhere about like what charities exist.
Right.
How do you, I mean, like you could ask anybody, like, well, what do you do? If someone's homeless, what do you do? I don't know, but there's places. Well, if someone's an addict, what do you do? I don't know, but there's places. Like most of us, every problem you can think of, all of us go, I don't know, but I know that there's places. Well, what if there were one place that you go, I don't know, but if they do, if you go over there, they can tell you all the different programs and all the different things that are out there to help you.
And Jared's, you know, something I thought was really genius. He, you know, like I said earlier, we get asked a lot of times, like, yeah, you go and you speak at these schools, and then what? I was like, well, I don't know what happens always after we leave, but I know that we're taking them the food, you know, we're putting the food on their table. They have to take it and eat it. You know what I mean? And he took it a step further. He said, you know, a lot of charities will give a man a fish. We're trying to teach men to fish, and women and everybody. Yeah. Like I want to give you one, and I want you to see how great it feels to eat. But then I want to also teach you, how do you continue to eat? Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think that's what we're wanting to do with these kids, is like show them a better way and teach them how to go get that better way. You know, so we're continuing to, you know, build into what we're going to do long term. How do we leave something behind with them, a curriculum and all these kind of things to help them push, not to push them into anything they don't want to do, but to help them discover, what is it that I truly want to do?
Right.
You know, who is it that I truly look up to? You know, for me, opposite from Jared, I was born into a very tough situation, and I had a stepdad who beat me every day of my life. I, missed many days of school with bruises all up and down my legs, back, and it was brutal. Like the stuff you see on TV. You're like, man, that's terrible. It was worse than what you see on TV.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to show you these things that
That's
I
right.
saw. I'm gonna get a little emotional talking about it, but luckily for me, there was also these positive lights in my life always. And I know that was God. I know that was, Jesus saying, hey, I know this sucks right now, but here's a little glimpse of hope. Here's a little glimpse of hope. Here's a little glimpse of hope. And I took those and I continued to build something better out of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I was doing it in the beginning when I got my record deal, whenever I was anything I was accomplishing. I was a general manager of a Sonic by 19 years old. I was making 60, grand a year working at the Sonic drive-in, which in McEwen, Tennessee, that's a lot of money. Just so still
Were
to
you
this
wearing
day.
skates?
I did. I skated every Thursday.
believe
I
it.
wore the daggum hot dog suit. I did. I would dress up as the mascot. It was hot in that thing.
That was a very rounded hot dog.
Hey, listen, I wish I would have had the burger in there and stuff.
Hot dog had
I
chili,
said,
bro.
I got inside the cherry limeade suit one day. Let me be honest with you, it was not cold inside that cherry limeade suit. But no, but it's like I continued to continue. Whenever I was succeeding at all these things, anything I did, played football was one of the best. I got all these trophies that serve me no purpose now, but I got all these trophies from when I played football. I went to the Dr. Pepper games with Sonic. I finished third in the entire nation for running a Sonic. You know what I mean? Like I was really good at it. I mean, and there was 3,000 stores at the time. Our store was in the top 12. We ended up finishing fourth as a store, and I finished third as an individual in this entire thing.
Heck yeah.
So it's a big award.
Yeah.
I got a full-on bronze medal that says Sonic Dr. Pepper games on. I got to go to Hawaii that year. It was the
Nice.
50th year anniversary or something. But I did that. I went to Nashville. Honestly, a lot of that was luck, not because I wasn't working hard, because I was. And they always say you got to be in the right place at the right time. But if you're more places, more times, you're likely to be in the right place at the right time. So I'm in Nashville. Toby Keith walks in, sees like, I never seen a 500-pound man doing a worm in the splits before. So, hey, you're coming on the road with me. Did y'all write them songs? Yes, sir. All right. Next thing you know, I got a record deal. I'm 22 years old. I'm on the road with Toby Keith. I'm opening up one of the biggest tours. All these things keep happening. And I just kept using those as excuses. Well, see, it's okay for me to be 500 pounds because I still did this.
Right.
And everything I did back then, I did it to say, I told you so. Look at me. I told you I could do it. You doubted me and I proved you wrong.
Yeah.
But after I went on The Biggest Loser and I started learning about forgiveness and love and hope and all these things that you don't think you're going to get from that reality show. I went on the reality show to further my career, to be on TV and be like, well, hey, I'm going to lose some weight and I'm going to have a lot of TV exposure. So that's all great for me. But as I got out there, I started learning, like, nah, you got to forgive your mom. You got to let these things go and change your mindset from doing, hey, I'm doing this because I want to prove to you that I can. Start doing it because you want to show them that they can too.
Yeah.
And so that's where my whole life started to change. And even with what he's doing now and what we're doing now together, we're trying to go show these kids, hey, you can too.
That's right.
Here's a kid that was born into here's a kid that was born into a drug house that, got the crap beat out of him every single day that I lived in a single wide trailer in the middle of the woods. You know what I mean?
Well, and if I could speak on Vinny's behalf on that, I didn't realize what was going to change in that moment because I was over there telling the story because my life was pretty good and I just screwed the whole thing up myself. And my story was always the rebuild from that and going, hey, you don't have to go down the road that I went, as well as if you do go down the road, it's your choice the entire time you're on that road to stop going down that road.
No way, cut a different path.
But then the first time I had Vinny come out and speak at one of the schools with me, he took it to a whole other spot because I was doing the redemption story of like when you screw up. And he comes in and goes, I was you.
Yeah.
I started off where like wherever you're at, I started there as well. You don't have to stay there. And it quickly became a thing of realizing that now we had the ability to go and also go, hey, whatever your parents have told you your life was or whatever example, that's not it. You don't have to be there.
And not even just your parents. It's society. I mean, first time I ever I spoke in Cleveland, Ohio, 98% black school. I walk in my overalls, with my Biggest Loser picture up there. And then, of course I can hear him snicker and make him look how fat he was. Look at his titties. Look at those, big old fat areolas. I mean, like literally. Yeah. And I'm thinking, Ben, this ain't going to go good. They are going to hate me. But then as the pictures keep flashing up, one comes up with me and Tim Tebow, me and Tony Gonzalez, me and Clay Matthews, me and people that they look up to and that they identify with. And the next thing you know, there's a quiet hush over the room and they're listening to me talk. And then they listen to my story. And they hear like, what did I go through? What was I able to overcome and all this stuff? Because so many times they're told, you can't do this because you were born black in America, and you can't do this because you live in this neighborhood or that neighborhood. And there was redlining and there was this and all this stuff that happened all these years ago. So you can never be anything. And their people are sitting there telling them that.
Yeah.
But literally, I want to go in and tell them, like, I don't care what happened 10 years ago. I don't care what you're living in right now. You still can change that and become something better.
Yeah.
Don't be a victim of your own circumstance.
Yeah.
And, not saying that it's going to be easier ever. Listen, there is a such thing as white privilege. There's a such thing as all these things that people talk about. But guess what? It doesn't matter what bumps is in your road. You still got to get over those bumps and change it. I weighed 500 pounds. I got kicked off of airplanes a lot, or had to buy 2 seats. I had to overcome those things. Whatever it is.
Hard.
Yeah. Listen,
it's hard to be 500 pounds.
Yeah.
It's hard to lose the weight.
Absolutely.
You got to choose your heart.
So no matter what your situation is, and some of it sucks, and some people are born into a way worse situation that they have to try and build their way out of. It ain't that I don't have sympathy for them, because I know what it's like to be them. But my whole point is, you still have to take the journey that you have to take. Yeah. If a guy like a Will Smith, which I know he's been in trouble here lately, but if a guy like Will Smith would have stayed where he was at and he didn't see something better for himself, he wouldn't have become Will Smith.
And on that as well, is like, so we got the opportunity this last year to fly over to Greece during Expendables 4 filming to that guitar that you guys saw last night. Had 50 Cent and Megan Fox, Machine Gun Kelly, Randy Couture, all these people signing, Jason Statham. And
how many war zones did you say that's been in?
That's been in.
That one's been a ton.
Yeah, that's been in at least 9. But the while I was out there, the person I got to hang out with the most was 50 Cent. And I was telling him about the school program, what we're doing, and most people don't know, but he also has another program that he runs in Texas that's similar concept. And he asked me, he said, so how are you effective in the urban areas? Do they accept you? And I was like, yeah, dude, like really, really well. And it's kind of been shocking, because you would think the way society talks about it, I have virtually nothing in common with them, but they accept it really well. And he said, have you ever questioned why? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, what did you figure out anything? I was like, the only thing I know is I'm telling them the truth. I'm telling them factual things. And he goes, I can tell you why. He said, so in your urban communities, he was like, we had 2 different people to follow. You had the gangbanger or the drug dealer, that whole element, and you had grandma. Yeah. And he was like, and most of us, a lot of us were raised up with grandma. And he was like, but the difference is that grandma didn't have any money. She was afraid of the gangbanger. He was like, the gangbanger had the money, had the women, had the cars, had the clothes, no morals. Grandma was pushing morals. She had nothing else.
Right.
Gangbanger had no morals, was pushing everything else. He said, so for me growing up, you had to decide, are you going to be this one or are you going to be that one? He was like, we know my story. He was like, I chose that gangbang side of it. He was like, but grandma was always in the back of my head. Yeah. He was like, but I just didn't have another role model in that. He was like, when you step into that school, he was like, you walk in wearing all your jewelry, you're talking about TV. He was like, you giving all the power of that gangbanger. You're not afraid of anything. You walk out there bold, right? But you're talking about the morals that grandma had. He was like, you just became the third element in those kids' lives. You were the first person to walk in front of them and go, hey, there's a third option here. Yeah. And it blew my mind the way he was talking about it, because if you haven't been raised in areas like that, you can't comprehend that idea of, like, once again, like the things that are on TV, that's just on TV to most of America, actually. Yeah. Like the ones of us that see past that and go, oh, I can be out there, I can do this. It's a very small percentage of us that just believe that our dreams can happen, and so I'm anxious to hear more about your thoughts on a lot of that, because I know that that's where your program is going, that idea of the refined life idea. Yeah. And so to kind of cap it off for us, the end result of like what you saw last night at the show and what you've seen in the shows, we're now looking at going, well, since we haven't been able to get that building yet, because I don't know where everyone's from, where they're listening from, but the property value has gone up considerably in Murfreesboro.
I mean, just a tad.
I mean, it's like doubled in the last couple of years. And so we haven't been able to afford that building yet. and we've got a lot of plans of how we can keep that money moving through
That's
once we get that spot. But we were sitting out at I was working with this kid at the fountains at Just Love, and I looked up and realized like there's 2 stages on this property. I was like, I hardly ever see
Highly
anybody
unused.
right.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are we doing? Like you start realizing, oh, well, there's cornhole over here, what looks to be like a small football field or something over there. Like you can clearly see the vision that was starting to be created there. And we started going, well, why wouldn't we just, well, that's not true either. My wife's grandfather, when he died, I think 2 years ago, he had a little word of advice for like every single person there before he died. And the one he gave me was, if not now, when? And those words hit me when I was looking at that stage of going, man, I keep telling myself I'm waiting on this building, I'm waiting on this money, I'm waiting on this way to do things, but I live here. I could just go do this. Yeah. And then we started thinking about, well, how would we do that? Well, why wouldn't we do it the same way Music with Mission does it, where we go, hey, sponsors, hey, people, we're going to put up this big screen out here, and on all our handouts, all of the things that we're doing, any advertisement we're doing, we're going to use marketing. And what we've seen so far is everybody that's come on so far, which we today we just brought on our 5th person,
nice.
5th company, and what we're seeing is that most of them don't really care if their logo is on the screen or not. And it's almost opposite. Like, we want your logo on the screen because we want them to see these are the men and women that you need to be watching.
Right.
These are the men and women that care. They don't care about being on the screen, and that's exactly why we want them on the screen.
Yeah.
We want to talk about them because those are the people that you need to aspire to be.
Yeah.
Those are the people that most of it. And I don't think me and you've really discussed your full story. Oh, we did. We talked about it at lunch the other day. You kind of seem to come from a similar background of mine.
Yeah.
But most people that are in extraordinary places in life, most of them didn't start off there.
Yeah.
Like they built it. It's very rare that you meet someone who was just in like, a 3rd generation company or a 4th generation company. Like, most people came from very humble backgrounds that have accomplished a lot.
Absolutely.
And so
the
we
cool
want
thing,
that
when
story
you,
being
when
heard.
you do meet somebody in a 3rd generation company, they still have that work ethic. That's the reason it's made it 3 generations.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Because they've learned, like,
Dude.
hey, wait a second, I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep
I
doing
mean,
that.
the
And
prime
made it
example of that, like when we met this guy, he blew me away. Jordan Cooper Steele. You know
Spent some
him?
time with him last night. Fantastic.
Dude, that guy. So his story, when we met him, we found out like he was a professional baseball player. And he literally like was looking at it one day, and he was getting ready to sign his next contract. And he was like, and he was like, what, 22, 23 when he made this decision. He looked at him, and he's got everything waiting on him. He's a professional baseball player. Fame is coming. The money's coming. And he thought about it and was like, at most I got maybe 9 years in this career. And he was like, I started thinking about like, I've lost one of my pitches already. He was like, my fastball has already started to slow down a little bit. He's like, everything's changed. And I was like, man, I could make and do more with my life working for my dad. And so he literally left a professional baseball career to go back and make like 50 grand a year working for his dad, knowing that one day, if I work hard enough, I'm going to be part owner of this company. Yeah. And now he is. And I mean, it's
CFO now, right?
Yeah. Well, he's taken over his uncle. So he's now partnered with his dad. And then his brother, I think, will eventually take his dad's spot as well. But having that sort of wisdom of going, I don't need this fame. I can actually accomplish more over here. That's a huge part of our mission of like, really think about what you want in life. Because I know that Vinny and I, we searched for that fame for a long time, only to realize that if you were to look at what I spent most of my time doing, I spent most of my time being a dad. Which shows you that that's apparently being a musician was not my first priority. Apparently I wanted to be a dad more than one. I didn't know that. I
mean, 6 times over.
Six times over, I wanted to be a dad. But anyway, so we're looking at that same element that you guys got to experience there. We want to start bringing that for free to the public, and we want to start giving a spot that after we've been in those schools, that even though we don't have a building yet, at least those kids know that, hey, on Thursday night or Friday night or whatever nights we're setting this up on, hey, this is a time that I can go out there and I can get to see these guys and hang out with them for a minute.
Well, we put the music on, and we're going to bring in musician buddies of ours. It won't always be me and him up there. We'll be up there an element of running the show, but showcasing their talents, helping them,
Mhm.
get to where they're going, make a new fan base and things like that. And it gives the kids a reason to come out. There's going to be some live music out there, these new musicians and this and that. We'll have some people from The Voice and people from other TV shows and things, American Idol, things like that. But then these businesses that they're seeing, like, hey, this is only happening because these guys are doing this. And the reason they can do this is because they've worked their butts off and they've become the kind of men and women you want to aspire to be like. So if we can build that, and even if, who knows how long it'll take to build where the kids and the parents and people realize, hey, we can go out there and do that, but you're not going to have to pay anything to get into the show. You're not going to have to, do anything. You can, if you want to go eat at Burger Republic, you can. I'm probably going to eat there a couple times. Not until I get done losing this belly, but I'm just saying,
they do have a veggie burger.
Oh, see, there we go.
No bread, veggie burger.
Well,
man.
yeah, I've had it on a lettuce wrap. Pretty good, man.
I'll eat it. I've ate there before and I loved it, but I'm just saying, we'll go out there and put on a show and just give a positive night to the community. And kind of like what I'm saying, he's like, we're gonna bring you a fish, and then we're gonna teach you to fish while you're there. So, hopefully, I don't know. I think we're just still a couple weeks out from getting this really completely.
We've got a few of the people on. Our hope is to bring on 20 sponsors by the end of the month. If we can do that, then we can hit the ground running the way that we want to. We're going to do it regardless. Of the way there
so far.
We're gonna do it regardless if the money's there or not. We're going to continue to have faith that God is going to provide, and this is the route that we're supposed to be on. I'm not lying. It's like and Vinny and I wound up in the same spot, and we're not going to go into details of that. But it was literally
in the middle of
it was literally when we decided we were going to do this. It was just like COVID. Not everything fell apart, but there was definitely a financial strain that hit almost the same day that we decided this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And it's been a weird spot because what I've noticed is every time I've ever hit a spot where it was like, oh, I might break right now, it's always whenever God shows up the most. I've never actually been hurt since I've been following God.
Yeah.
I've never really been hurt. I've had a lot of fear and a lot of spots where it felt like, that the rug was going to get pulled out from underneath me, but it never has. And in fact, if I stay faithful in those times, my life grows exponentially during those times. And that's another portion of it as well that I think me and you covered at lunch, is that somehow, like what 50 Cent was saying, we've been taught that the idea of, the humble and the meek will inherit the earth, that somehow that's being poor.
Right.
Somehow, like, we're not supposed to have or grow, but that's not the God that I know. I'm not going to get into like this prosperity, preaching gospel, but at the same time, he does want you to be able to grow. He wants you to be a good steward of everything you have. And so if you've given me a little bit of money and I'm a good steward of it, most likely that money will grow. Yeah. I'll continue to grow and I'll continue to have more. And eventually then you have like what you were talking about. Then eventually I'm making enough money that I can also give to other people and do more. And I think that we just believe that method. So that's just what we're coming out of the gate with. And we're going to start there. And we're going to depend on God and the people that he's brought to the table, like yourself, to.
Yeah, I always love that when people are like, you're not supposed to have any money. You're supposed to be broke. I'm like, when's the last time that you were willing to follow somebody into battle or follow somebody into a company that was broke? I was like, I'm just saying, Jesus had a treasurer. Judas was, Jesus' treasurer, even though he was Judas. He was Jesus' treasurer. There was money there. They were doing that thing because they had to have it in order to go. Because you know what? The last thing I'm gonna do is like, man, this guy looks like he's got nothing going on. I'm gonna follow him. Do the same thing he's doing. So, anyways, I just always thought that was funny because people always have that because they always hear the part about it's easier for a rich man or for a camel to get through an eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to get in heaven. But you don't even understand that. They're like, eye of a needle. You don't know that it was like the small entry into a city. That they had to get the camels to get down on their knees and crawl through and all this other stuff. But I always thought that was interesting because people take it as, oh, you're supposed to be poor. Like, no, you don't need to be poor. We want to, God will fill your cup and wants to fill your cup in order for you to fill other people's cups, Yeah. Anyways, that's enough of that. I'm not going to get all Joel Osteen.
I mean, we'll just keep talking and talking. I mean, it's like, I don't know how many interviews you got at this point, but
let's.
I want to fill up your entire year of podcasting. Okay.
Man, today.
Open invite. So we need sponsors. We need 20. We've got how many?
5.
We've got 5 right now.
Does that include myself?
That does.
Okay, perfect. Because we're in like Flynn, and hoping to grow what we're going to contribute more and more.
Yeah.
Every
month.
month.
And the 20 is just that start, because the reality is that what we can do in the community, just continues to grow as long as we have the sponsors. And the way that we're looking at everything, we want to be an open book to any of our sponsors.
Yep.
You want to know where the money's going, how it's going. We're going to tell you everything that's happening. We want to make sure, like we had John Keach, his company is
TDK Builders.
He came in and purchased the video wall for us.
Awesome.
And so it was a huge donation in that. And what seems to be the thing that got him on is like, hey, this is what I want the money for, and this is why, and this is what we're going to do. And then we're going to bring in these sponsors that we're going to showcase on this. So we're literally going to bring your money back. And then you can decide if you want to invest in the next thing that we're doing or how we want to do that. And he was like, dude, no charity has ever looked at me and said, I'm going to show you what we're doing with your money. I'm going to show you how we're bringing more money in because of your donation. And then I'm going to ask you if I can use your money on the next thing that we're doing. And he was like, dude, I love that because why wouldn't we want to do it that way? I mean, nothing against the fact that we a charity takes in money and then gives it away. That's great. I understand it. That's not what Vinny and I feel like we're being called to do. We feel like we're being called to go, show me the money that you're going to give away and let's turn it into more money and give away even more.
Well, just like a business model, like, I'm just learning about investments over the last couple of years. I've always been the kind of guy like, trade your time for money. I'm going to give my time. I'm going to get this much money,
Right.
And then I take that money and I hoard it in my bank account. And I just sit there and wait for it to all either run out or me to keep making enough to keep it replenished so that I have a 3-month plan if something goes wrong. But if I would have taken that money whenever Trailer Choir, when we were at our biggest, we had $200,000 or $300,000 liquid sitting in the bank. And we just let that money sit there. And as we got less famous and less shows, we just paid all that money out to ourselves. But if we'd have taken it when we had 300,000 and said, hey, let's put 150,000 into some kind of investment that could make each one of us a couple grand a month, and we're creating a residual income that goes forever. So same thing with the charity is like, hey, where can we put this so that it's going to make the money that will then go out into the community and it just keeps on giving. It's a residual income to go out into the community. And we don't just focus on just our charity. We, like I said, we have been tied into all these other charities, 9 different ones or 10 different
and
ones.
We'll continue.
And we're always going to do that. I mean, we've always wanted to be that, and it's so funny because we'll put on these shows and we've handed some of these charities $10,000 checks, or all of them, hand them a $10,000 check. They're like, oh my gosh, do I have to sell like, no, you don't got to sell tables. You ain't got to, all you got to do is show up. Let us, tell them about what you do. You'll probably gain some more donors that night for what you do. And we just want to bless you with this because we love what you're doing, whether it be in some of the veteran charities we work with or the kids charities we work with, we just like, hey, we love what you're doing. And we don't have massive bank accounts yet, but if we can get enough people in this room that can throw a little bit here and there, and it turns into a pretty decent little chunk for you,
Yeah.
And I do think that people are need givers. And I think that's one of the things we just, if we're just like, hey, we're raising money because we're going to go speak at these schools. But like, what does it do when we go speak at these schools? Who is it helping? My favorite example is he goes into a war zone. You tell this about going to the war zone. It's one of my favorite stories.
I'm in Jordan at Christmas 2019.
The country Jordan.
Country Jordan.
Not Cooper.
Yeah. Yeah, and this kid, I say kid, he's like towered over me. He's like 6'4", 6'5", and walks up and he goes, "Hey, do you remember me?" And I was like, "No, dude, I'm sorry. I meet a lot of people." And he goes, "You came to my school." I was like, "Really?" He was like, "Yeah." He came to my school like 4 years ago, and I was like, he said, "I'd not thought about what I wanted to do with my life at all." He was like, and I was kind of heckling you a little bit, and he was like, "And you got tired of it. And you pulled me up on stage and you started using all of your examples through me." And he's like, I'm not gonna lie. At first it kind of pissed me off a little bit. And he's like, and then I realized like I was being a smart ass the entire time. Like
he asked for it.
Right. He was like, you had full rights to do that. And he said, but you put me on the spot and said, what are you going to do with your life? Or are you just going to heckle me? And he was like, and it shut me down. Like I didn't know how to respond because like you just called me out completely.
In front of 900 other kids.
Yeah.
Right. And he said, I left that day and he's like, and I started thinking about like, what am I going to do with my life? He was like, I was a singer. Oh, he said, that's what it was. He said, you then asked when I didn't respond, what grade are you in? And I said, I'm a senior. And he said, you better get started on this, huh? This is about to be
almost
over.
Time.
Yeah.
This whole thing you're doing right here, it's over.
Yeah.
And he said, and I thought about that. And I was like, man, what am I going to do with my life? He was like, and it made me feel like a loser because I was like, I was the jock in school. I was popular, and I was really witty. And he was like, and so it was easy to be popular. And I was like, and I thought, is this it? Is this all I got? And He said, I started thinking about it more, and he's like, and I started Googling like different jobs, and he was like, and air traffic controlman. It was like everything that you needed to be an air traffic controlman. I just was naturally good at all those things. I was like, well, maybe I'll go do that. And I was like, so you're here working on doing that? And he goes, no, bro, I'm fucking air traffic controlman. I was like, oh, you are one? And he was like, yeah, man. He was
in a
like,
war zone.
In a war zone.
Yeah.
And it was like fast forwarding.
You
like
got to really control that traffic up there.
Right.
Yeah.
You could send somebody to the wrong place.
That literally hadn't thought about his life at all. And here he is defending our country, you know, and controlling the bombers that are going in and out and stuff. It was mind numbing to think about that. And the amount of kids that we've had sending messages about, hey, you know, I just got accepted to West Point. No one in my family has ever gone to college, let alone no one's ever graduated high school, let alone went to college. We had one kid send that he got into Harvard.
Wow.
Yale. He had never Yale. He had never thought about doing anything.
Yeah.
Like he was like, no one in my family has ever been to college, and he was smart enough that he got into Yale, dude. You're like,
that's fantastic.
What the heck? Well, and he was like, for my family, he was like, we were also told that, you know, the white man was ruling over us, and he was like, we were poor, and he was like, and I had no idea how many that there was a certain amount of black people that needed to go to Yale, and there was a certain amount of people that were underprivileged that needed to go to Yale, and I happened to be smart enough. And I checked all those boxes
and got to go to Yale.
I went to Yale.
And you know what?
Crazy.
That don't just change his life. That changes the family tree. That takes a branch into a whole new area of like the. Of
you just told the whole family, all the kids coming up, like, hey,
by the way, you can still do this.
Yeah.
And you know, and on a darker, lighter side, I guess it's super dark, but really light in a way. Is we've gotten so many messages of kids saying, "I was literally going to commit suicide today."
Yeah,
I had already planned to take my life. Like I'm like, that's never entered my mind.
Right.
Even in the darkest of times that I went through as a kid, I was always like, I'm gonna get out of this somehow. You know, I've always kind of had that spirit about me. But you know, a lot of people battle clinical depression, where there's chemical imbalances and different things going on in their body that changes things for them. I've always had this positive spirit, you know. But my brother completely opposite of me, and my sister completely opposite of him, and we all
also very opposite,
very opposite of me. But I'm just saying, like when you look at that, when you read those messages, and like I don't know if that lasts for the next 10 years, but it made it one more day.
Yeah,
you know, it gave them enough hope that they didn't go home and string themselves up or take pills or
well, and now to fast forward that too, like now this has moved into radio interviews and those sort of things. Like we were at I was in Muscle Shoals and doing this radio interview, and I do this song called 22, which you probably heard. It shows it's about 22 soldiers commit suicide in the United States every day. And this particular song was about how today there was only going to be 21 because this guy decided to show the world what he's made of. Yeah. And it's based off a true story of a guy that you guys have seen a lot. If you've ever watched Fox News, he's one of the guys on there. And Joey Jones, yeah. And I don't even think Joey knows that, like, the song got cut by Daryl Worley. I don't think Joey knows that the song is about him. But anyway, the point of that is that they asked me to play a song live on radio that day, and that's the song I picked, which is not a typical pick for a radio interview. You typically don't go for a suicidal song, you know, but that's what I really felt like that I was supposed to do that day, and I did it. And I said, you know, if anybody needs help out there, we're here for you. I've got resources. Radio station has resources. Please call in. Phone lights up immediately. And this guy calls in, and the DJ puts it on like commercials or whatever for a minute and takes this call. And he comes back to me. He's like, dude, he's like, that guy's headed down here right now. He was like, we're about to get him into a place. He was like, he literally just said, I've never admitted this. I came back from war 3 years ago. He was like, I've been suicidal ever since. That's never actually came out of my mouth until now. He was like, I need help. Can you please give me some help? I don't know who that guy was, but tell him to keep doing that because we need this. No song has ever resonated with me the way that did. And once again, it goes to that music with a mission of realizing, like, we can take everything that we've always done in music and just apply that to doing something more.
It was also the first time that Jared got to call me, because I'm like, I'm against radio. I think it's all dying. And I was like, there ain't no reason to do radio. And he called me that and he goes, hey bro, here's your story. This is why we're doing it. It ain't necessarily just to get our songs out there, become more famous, but there's that one guy that was listening. We got him into a facility.
Changed the life.
And so it's like that I was like, all right.
And so
You win this one.
the hope here is what, and we're just going to throw this out. This is the first time we've said this on air of any kind. We're just going to go ahead and throw this out there. So the idea is that we're going to start at the fountains, making a difference in these kids' lives, and we're going to infiltrate this area in particular and really hone in that. We're going to continue to do it all around the United States, but we're going to really make Murfreesboro a focus right now. And as we continue to do that, what it's going to evolve into is eventually we will have that event space that we talked about, and that's going to lead into something else. Is a much bigger dream of mine, is basically the first nonprofit record label. The reason we're looking at this, we want to take music with a mission to a whole nother level and go, why would we continue to sit and listen to a record label decide these are the songs that are going to be the most popular? I'm not concerned with what's going to be the most popular. What I do want to know is how many songs can we get out there and blow them up, but by us or other artists, whoever. We don't really care about who it is, but what songs are we putting out that can actually change lives, that actually makes a difference? And we go, hey, we don't care that this is not going to be a number one. We're just going to push this as hard as we possibly can. I mean, you guys have been on TikTok and different things that you hear these different songs that you're like, this, that I mean, a lot of like crap out there, but then there's that occasional song that you're like, whoa, that's amazing. But it never goes past TikTok typically. Yeah. Why not? Why are we not creating something that can go out there and go, we don't care if it's making any money or not. We want to change lives. That's right. So that's where this is eventually going to go. We're going to keep taking music with a mission as far as we can. Like I said, Live to Be will be the charity that will always be attached to that. And so yeah, back up. Right now we're starting with the fountains. We need sponsors.
Yep. Let's go. It's, you know, when we first met, Jared, I told you, I feel like success leaves clues. And you guys are getting the clues, right? I mean, the radio, I mean, you're seeing the kid in Jordan, us meeting, us being here. You know, I'm a big fan of this community, and I have no doubt everybody's going to step up to the plate, and we're going to get this to 20 ASAP. I give you my word. I'm going to do everything I can to help y'all accomplish
just
that.
so they know, in case there's anybody out there listening, it also comes with free hugs from Big Benny. So
yeah,
that's worth $500 a hug right there. But I'll give you all of them for free.
And we've talked a lot about Jesus today and stuff. So I do want to clarify something. Vinny and I will mention God to a degree in school, only because it's part of our story. We don't. That's not what we're doing, because we very much believe that you know, there's that saying, I forget who said, I say it all the time, so I should probably learn the actual saying and find out who did it, but it said, in all things you do, show the love of Christ, and when necessary, use words. Yeah. And so we don't feel the need to talk about Jesus in school. We feel the need to love people the way Jesus told us to. I think, and that will cause you to ask questions. So absolutely. When we leave that school, we do get a lot of questions on our personal Instagrams about God and Jesus, those sort of things. That's not what we're leading with. We're leading with loving and making good decisions. Yeah. And if you want to know my personal story later, then I'll tell you about that, you know, on your own time. Yeah. Then now, with that being said as well, there's also this thought that you're supposed to be like really perfect if you're going to rep God in any sort of way. I am not at all. I got a whole lot of issues. He does. Vinny's got some issues. I have a lot too.
My kids hear me say it all the time. Shit happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And right. Absolutely. But what I'm learning though is that there's a whole lot more more people like us that do have issues that the church and a lot of different groups have pushed away, because it's like, we had a kid say this the other night from a group called Jesus in a Bar that I thought was great. He goes, COVID taught me that COVID and sin were the same things. You could be asymptomatic. So you're not showing the signs of COVID. The virus. So there are certain people out there that we typically call the church that may not show the same signs of sin. And then there's some of us out there that we show a lot of signs. Right. But our our hearts are pure. And like Jamie is one of those great guys that I see Jamie. Like that. It's like Jamie, I've watched him drop the F-bomb in church. No joke. I've seen him drunk with his pastor. I've seen him do like all sorts of crazy stuff. He's a great dude. And like, he makes no apologies for who he is and the flaws that he has. And he doesn't understand which I think is beautiful. He doesn't understand, well, why can't I love Jesus the same way everybody else does love Jesus? Why can't I do good just because I got some problems? You got problems. You just hide your problems. They're just different problems.
He's like, so I drink and I cuss a little bit, but I still love Jesus. You know?
Right.
Jesus still loves me.
Right. And there's more of us out there that are flawed.
Yeah.
That I'm starting to go, dude, why aren't we standing up and going, no, I don't care about the problems that you got. I got problems too. You may have different problems or whatever, but we're all just people.
Yeah.
And I'm no longer willing to say, hey, I've got to get more perfect in order to talk about God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, now I do believe that you can consistently try to get better and better. And I do notice for me, there's a lot of things in my life that I had a lot of trouble giving up until I started putting God first and started acting out and showing my love for Christ. And then I noticed that there's a lot of things that are kind of just naturally cleaning themselves up now.
Yeah.
They get
Yeah.
better. But
well, you just, as your morals begin to come more and more and you fix things, you're like, that maybe not be the best thing for me to do. If I want to live in this life and walk in this life the way that I'm trying to do, and I'm trying to be this example, then maybe I shouldn't do this anymore. And you know, but to what he just said, so when I was on Biggest Loser, Dole Vet, who's my trainer on there, he used to always say, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start if you ever want to be great.
yeah,
That's right.
And I think that's the same thing with anything you're doing in life. It doesn't matter if you want to be the best welder. You're not going to start off as the best welder. You're going to start off as a guy that has no clue how to even start up the welder, you know?
Yep.
But if you want to become great at it, you got to just start doing it, you know? And I think that's where we even come to with the charity stuff. And with everything that we're building is, hey, we're just going out there and doing it. And we've made mistakes and made flaws, but we just continue to clean up those messes and do.
and I probably still will. Now, my wife will be the one to show me that I made that fall because I don't necessarily notice, but she's real good at reminding me of like, hey, you weren't right on that one.
But then until you get in the van, then you're all good.
Right. Yeah, we made this rule.
We have a safe space.
Yeah, we have a safe space on the road that
Pineapple.
if you're in a van or a bus, you can't be wrong.
Yeah.
And so we're just always
It's
right
just the rules.
in that space.
I like it.
Yeah. It's like its own galaxy of no wrongness.
Yeah. My wife asked me one day, she's like, why is it that you like hanging out with Vinny and Week so much? You get so excited when you go on the road. And I was like, because I'm never wrong. That's just the way that goes. In fact, it's so much like she asked me for Father's Day what I wanted. And I said, I want to spend the entire day not being wrong.
Ask me what 2 times 16 is. Ask me.
What's 2 times 16?
4 million.
That is the stuff that I did all that day. I was like, and I can't be wrong a single time. And it was awesome. It's the best day I've ever had.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Hey, we really appreciate you even letting us come on here and be in front of y'all's crowd and what y'all do. And I
feel like we hijacked it. I feel like you asked like 3 questions and then we just went.
No, this is why we wanted you here. You know, obviously I love
because you ran out of things to say, and you're like, these guys never run out of things to say.
Listen, no, I could question galore. Maybe we have y'all come back.
Yeah. Actually, I'm going to be asking you questions because I bought all the stuff to do a podcast.
Okay.
And I put it in my house. And then I realized that I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. So, you know, the podcasting hasn't happened yet, but I'm working on a whole program that I'm putting together called Overall You. And it's about your mind, body, soul, your mindset. You know, I teach people how to work out. I teach people how to eat. I write meal plans. I do all these things. And I don't mind doing that. But what I truly want to help people with is just get their mind right. Because if you want to get everything else right, get your mind right first, you know?
And that's exactly what y'all are doing, you know, with the shows that's coming up at the fountains and the charity events and everything. I mean, it's going towards helping kids or vets or people, you know, recovering.
Yep.
Or people in jail. That's what they need. It's a mindset change, right?
Yep.
It's what makes us better. That's what this podcast is about, the refined life. It's a mindset. It's focused on your grit, your grind, your gratitude. You know, what's going to make you
4
better.
G's.
It's
3 G's.
3 G's. There is a 4G. It's the G code. I'm actually wearing.
Oh, come on with it.
All right. So
my phone has 5 G's.
So the G
Plus.
code, there's actually an app. It's the daily G code app. I think it's not an app. It's a website, but it focuses on 4 G's. The first is your gratitude. The second is your genetics, meaning did you work out? Did you eat good? The third is your group, the people you focused on, the people you include in your circle, like you guys. And then the fourth is your grind. What are your wins from the day? And when you really think about it, that's all that really matters in life.
Well, the fifth one is your gangster lean.
The
Yeah,
shoulder lean.
Shoulder lean.
Remember that one?
And let your
The
shoulder
shoulder
lean, let your shoulder lean. No, I think it's great, man. My whole mindset with what I'm building from what I've been working on for, these last several years is all about just helping people find the motivation and the courage to go out there and do something that they truly want to do. Like, no longer settle. Working for somebody can be a great thing. You can make money.
Yeah. And
you will trade your time until the day you die for that money.
That's right.
But if you create something that you truly love to do, then you're not working. You know what I mean?
Fact.
And this happened to me just recently. I have many different sources of income. I told you I've made some investments. I got a little resort out. We canoe and kayak and camp, and we have a little.
Do you want to mention the concert you got coming up out there?
We do, September 24th. If you want to come see boy bands on the Buffalo, you can see LFO, Ryan Cabrera, O-Town, and Chris Kirkpatrick from NSYNC, all in one place. Also, we've just added Julie Roberts, so come on down, only $30, September 24th at the Buffalo River Resort in Lobelville, Tennessee.
It's almost as if that was planned.
Yeah, and it wasn't. That's the best part. But no, that's hilarious.
You said it's always like, so this guy, like every night on stage, everything always sounds rehearsed. Even his mistakes sound like they were rehearsed or something. And it's never, he never, I literally like last night, I was like, hey, what are you going to play? And he's like, I don't know. I figured I'd just listen to whatever you're going to play and play off that. Yeah. Like there's never a thought. Like it's,
you know why?
Like sometimes I love it, and sometimes it's like super annoying because I'm like, I can't plan anything with you because you don't stick to anything.
You play first, Like, hey, but you know why I'm like that? I keep that van mentality everywhere I go.
Right. I agree with that.
I took a little piece of the van with me the other day when I left. You saw I ripped it off. I put it in my pocket. I got it in my pocket right now. I got a little piece of the van with me all the time. I'm always right. No, but what I was saying is like, so this happened to me. His wife and my wife get on the phone, and the next thing I know, my house is for sale. This is like a month and a half ago. No joke. I come home, my wife's like, hey.
That was like started my fault. I'm pretty sure I called my wife and was like, hey, one of the houses in the neighborhood just popped up for sale. Check it out and see if you can get Vinny in it.
Yeah. So I come home, and my wife's like, hey, I think we're going to see how much we can get for our house. I'm like, wow, we love our house. We love where we're at. We're good to go. Yeah, but wouldn't you want to live beside Jared? I'm like, yeah, kind of. Like we're not that far away from each other now, but she's like, yeah, she's like, I just want to see, just see what we could get. And so he's like, oh yeah, also here's this house that we want to buy. I'm like, well, we can't buy that house unless we sell our house. Yeah. So Jen and me are going to make an offer on this house in contingency of selling our house. I'm like, okay. She's like, are you cool with that? I'm like, I think you just said I was. So,
do I have a choice in the matter?
So the next thing I know, so they go and they put the offer on this house. And remarkably, for less than what it was listed for, because that don't happen right now, anywhere. Not. And the woman accepts it in contingency of selling our house. I was like, okay.
Well, now understand, first of all, like when my wife goes in to sell a house or buy a house or remodel a house, or all the many things that she does, she's just seems like she's so in touch with God through it all. And she just prays about things and then goes back to her client and goes, this is what I think we should do. It's up to you though.
Yeah. So the next thing I know, she says, hey, you're leaving your house because we're going to come in and we're going to set it up and we're going to put it on the market this weekend. This all happened in like 4 days. I'm like, okay. So they put us in a hotel up here at the Signature, whatever it is, up here at the.
Wasn't they, Jen? I had nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with it. I'm blaming you still. But so they put us at the hotel for the weekend, which I don't know if you know this or not, but having a 4-year-old and 2-year-old in a hotel room is tougher than you think.
Yeah.
But
that's who my wife is. She's like,
yeah.
We're going to do this over here. So I'm just going to put you in this hotel. And like,
I was trying to get them to let us stay in their spare bedroom. Cause I'm like, hey, instead of going to the hotel. And of course, then Jerry's like, nah, you got a 2-year-old. It's gonna be crying. But anyways, so we go in there. She puts our house on the market. The very first day, a couple comes in and looks at it. And the next day we get an offer for $50,000 more than what we listed it for.
Nice.
And I was like, do we just go the rest of the weekend just to see what people say? Or she's like, well, we got 24 hours to accept the offer. I'm like, well, I mean, that's a blessing. I can't even fathom somebody giving us more than that, and I would feel guilty almost if they did. So they wrote us this letter talking about how this was exactly what they were looking for, the place to raise their kids, has a backyard, all these other things. I'm like, yeah, that's why I bought it for me. you know.
So the letter works.
Yeah, the
That's what
letter
you're
the
saying.
letter
That's
does
what I'm
work.
hearing.
But no,
Well,
I
letter
love
an extra 50 grand.
Yeah, letter an extra 50 grand. So all of a sudden, so I'm like, okay, so we're
Which,
really
by the
doing
way,
this.
we also we live by the same thing. If any of you guys want to send us a letter with 50 grand in it,
We'll take that.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll give you hugs for it. But anyway, so next thing I know, my house sells. Well, the whole point of doing this was because we bought the house during the pandemic. We bought it for $305. We were selling it for $550. We only owed $285, so there's $265,000 there. So we're like, holy crap. Well, then we know we're gonna have to put down 20% on our next home. That way we don't have to pay mortgage insurance, all this. Jen's really smart at all that. I don't understand it. I just said, do whatever you do. So we get to the end of it, and there's like quite a bit of money left over, after it's all said and done. And so the plan was for my wife to quit her current job and go back and go to school to become a practitioner so she can read labs and all this other stuff, because she wants to help women with their hormones, and she wants to eventually start her program where
It's a
she's
big
gonna,
need for that.
she's going to teach that it's not just about diet and exercise. She's going to teach there's a lot of other things that can be involved in your health and fitness than just
Absolutely.
that. So that's what she was truly passionate about and what she wanted to do. And she wanted to create this program for women that could teach moms how to recover from C-sections, teach moms how to get their hormones back on track after, pregnancy and all these other things. So that's what she wanted to focus on. So she puts in her 2-week notice at the job we've been at for 4 years. And this job makes us both about 90 grand a year apiece. So we're making good money there.
Yeah.
So they say, okay, no problem. Hate to lose you, all that kind of stuff. Well, then the next morning we wake up and I'm logged out of the system too. And they fire me on the spot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You're going to see their ads. They're called V-Shred. You'll see their ads on all this stuff. And we worked for them 4 years. And I'm like, hey, I don't even know that I'm fired. So I go in and I'm like calling my boss, like, hey man, I don't know what's going on with my system. I can't get in. He goes, oh yeah, by the way, we had to fire you. I'm like, for what? I didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
I'm one of the best trainers you got here. I got more transformations than anybody. He's like, yeah, man, there's a policy in the company that if you're a husband and wife or two brothers or anybody that's together comes into this company, then if one of them leaves or quits or gets fired or whatever, then the other one has to be automatically fired. So I'm like, so after 4 years of me helping build this program and helping do all these things, I wake up, no, hey man, we're going to give you 2 weeks. We're going to give you a month. I'm just gone.
Just
like,
gone.
well, you don't really work for the company, Vinny. You're an outside contractor. So we're just feeding you clients and you're just servicing our clients through your company. So you don't really work for our company. We're just cutting you off from working with our clients. And I was like, okay. I said, I understand. I said, I was sorely mistaken. I thought I was part of what we were building here, and that's on me, and I've made a lot of money with them, and if it hadn't been through them through the pandemic, I'd have been in real bad shape.
Yeah.
So God put that there for me. And then I had these plans I was going to do with this extra money. I was going to invest in this. We were going to invest in some house flipping and doing some things, which we're still going to. But as I was sitting there, and I got a little down for a couple of days, and I don't ever get down. You can ask him. I'm always up,
Yeah.
But I'm kind of sitting there. I'm like, holy crap, we just lost $100 and something thousand a year like that, Luckily, we got this money over here because we may have to use it. And I didn't know what we were going to do. And I started looking at us like, okay, we got this show and that show coming up and all these things happening. And it can't be any worse than 2020. 2020, I didn't have all this stuff and we lost everything. So, and it still worked because God kept working there. So then I was like sitting there and I was like, you know what? I ain't gonna let you keep me down, devil. I see what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And I ain't gonna let that happen. So I just decided, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna just build something. The best way to keep the ball in your court is to build your own court.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna make my own company that helps people with their mindset, helps people get motivated, do it on a low dollar, subscription monthly kind of thing so that they can figure out how. I don't want to tell you exactly what to eat, but I'm going to tell you how you should eat and how you can set up your macros. I don't want to tell you exactly what kind of workout to do. I want you to find the kind of activity that you enjoy doing and then be consistent at it.
Yeah.
And I want to help keep you motivated to do those things. So that's kind of what we're focused on.
T-Day is going to be your first client. I'm signing him up now. Just let me know what I owe you.
All right.
Because he hates being told what not to
It's
do.
just a letter and a $50,000 check.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. Well, and the funny part that he leaves out of that is that the day that he found out he got fired, he called me and he goes, I officially am on 100% full time with Live to Be. And the thing is that I had been watching him in the job for a while, and I was like, this is not what he's supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be focused on Live to Be 100% of the time. And it really very much felt like I kept praying and going, God, show me. And it was like for both of us, all of a sudden went. something got pulled out, and it was like, I think that he's telling us that this is what we were supposed to be doing, bro. Like this is what we're supposed to be focused on. And so, when he talks about overall you, all that, it's really understanding that that's where Live to Be is growing and growing and growing. Is like it started off being like a drug alcohol thing, and then it moved more into mental health, which expanded us into veterans and prisons and from just rehabs and schools. And I always knew that we wanted to move into health next. And then I believe that's probably the division he's talking about is moving into a whole nother spot. And that vision of that place that we were going to build is knowing that we were also going to want to have a gym there. There's a lot of different elements there, and going, dude,
you childhood obesity,
you can privately
pandemic we got going.
Well, and part of that is like, you can privately train people at this place, and then we can take the proceeds of that and start bringing in kids and just giving that back to them. But because I think
we used
for
to do
us,
a program with Biggest Loser called Kid Fit, where we would work with the kids that would come out to our Biggest Loser run walks and things like that, and help give the parents simple guidelines on how they can eat better. And because it's hard, I mean, I got 2 kids. I'm trying to get them to eat vegetables every day. I'm like, hey, I don't want to eat this either, but you got to, because it's really good for you, Now I got some vegetables I like, like Brussels, but anything Jared cooks, I like. He's a really good cook. But no, overall use. So it's like the overalls is my moniker, so overall comes from that. And overalls are also kind of synonymous with working hard. Yeah. You know what I mean? You put the plow on the ground, you think about the farmers you knew when you was a kid, the guys you see walking around the dirty overalls, they were the millionaires in town and you didn't even know it, know? But, and then the you is wow you. So it's overall you. It's your mind, your body, your soul, your spirit, all those things that you have with you daily, because you wake up with you every single day. Right. And I try to always focus on, hey, it matters what I think about myself more than anybody else in the world, because I'm the only person I'm guaranteed to wake up with every single day of my life. Yeah. Tomorrow you're, and it sucks to think about this, but your wife could be gone, your dad could be gone, your mom could be gone, anybody could be gone tomorrow. But as long as you're waking up, you're going to be there with you. So I wanted to focus on that. And the you is going to be capitalized. So it's university. And all I'm doing is just taking the knowledge that I've got, the experience I've got, and giving it to you. I'm still learning. I mean, I know a lot about nutrition. I've learned a lot since being, 10, 11 years now of writing meal plans, working with people, getting, learning my own stuff at Biggest Loser, personal training certification, whatever, which those are, if somebody tells you I'm a certified personal trainer, it don't really mean jack. If they ain't got experience, they don't know as much as you think they do. Very true. I've seen some really people with a really high end certifications that don't know anything. And I've seen people that don't even have a certification that could tell you everything you ever need to know. Mostly these bodybuilders, everybody thinks, oh, they're just big dumb oafs in the gym. I'm like, no, they have so much knowledge. Yeah. If you sit down with them and you listen to them talk about food, about macros, about, the mindset that they have to get up and be there at 5 o'clock every single morning, busting their butt in there. It's insane. But anyways, but it ties into everything that we do. And that's what we just started to realize, not started, but over the last 10 years, we realized like, hey man, we're paddling towards the same point and we got different boats, and your current's messing up my current's messing up your current. But if we just come together and pull these two boats together and we just start sailing towards that same thing, we're going to be way stronger when we're together. Yeah. And that's what I think.
Definitely what we were thinking. And I think that over the last year now, we're realizing like, no, man, we just need to buy a bigger boat, man.
Yeah.
I love this. Let's get in a big boat and let's move on.
The one thing better than having your own boat is having a friend with a boat. That way he has to clean it and he has to pull it out of the water. And he, no, but seriously, I mean, we want to continue to build the bigger boat, put it in better water, every single time. And, one of these days, hopefully we're having a yacht party with y'all and y'all are just out there hanging out with us and, sliding us $50,000 with notes that say we love you so much. No.
I think the first yacht party is going to be the first live concert that's for free.
I like it,
dude. And, and that's, still
we'll call it Fire Festival or something like that. Is that what we're going to call it?
and that's definitely the part that we're trying to move toward is like when we started coming up with the building idea alone, it was because Halloween's a big deal in my house. And with 6 kids,
he's really good at it. It's annoying.
Yeah, with 6 kids, it was always a big deal for us. That it was, it started off with us, just having our own little event, and then we became like the scary house in the neighborhood, and then we became the fun house in the neighborhood, and then
you do have the only black house in the entire community.
This is the first time I'll have a house that's worthy of Halloween. All the rest of the houses were white houses,
so we know where we're trick or treating this year.
Yeah. So dude, it's always king size everything. Like because I'll give you a little treat here that if you go and buy,
size, it's going to be more than a treat.
If you go and buy your candy at Walmart, you'll spend more for like how much you're handing out than if you just go on like Amazon and order a bunch of king size candy bars.
There
And
you
when
are,
give a
crushing
kid
brick
a
and mortar right here in
king-size
front of all.
candy bar, their eyes bug out. They're like, it's great. But anyway, so it turned into like just being our kids, then turned into like, 100, 150 kids were showing up. And I started realizing like, dude, how awesome would it be if we had an event space where every Halloween we were throwing these massive parties totally free?
Yeah.
How awesome would it be on New Year's Eve? Because we have so many kids, so many teenagers, so many college kids, and there's really not a whole lot for them to do, especially being positive based.
Yeah.
And the idea that you can have a huge New Year's Eve party, and I'm talking about like the type of parties you see on TV, because we don't see those. Like we got to experience those from like Hollywood, crap that we were doing. But like, it's like, why aren't we throwing parties like that, inviting these kids for free, and then having someone like you get up and go, hey, this is what our buddy, we're going to bring him up. This is what he's all about. And just giving that little bit of wisdom for that 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And now the rest of the night's free.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I need
Anyway,
to have
we'll go on and on about all the ideas.
Speaking of
that
the
we're all-
Hollywood stuff, I need to have a conversation. This is a PSA to all the ladies out there that are Bachelor and Bachelorette fans. Just because on the TV show that they take a helicopter to the top of this private mansion in the middle of Tahiti or whatever, and they have a date there, that guy ain't doing that for her whenever they leave that show. I'm just going to let you know that don't happen because most people ain't got a private helicopter in a private mansion.
This is very, very true. And
like
they're
all
always
of a
like, this
sudden
was an
somebody comes out
amazing
playing-
date. You're like, well, yeah. I mean, you just had little Big Town there for free while you danced, just the two of you, and a candlelit dinner from a helicopter that flew.
That was only a $500,000 date you just had.
Absolutely.
It's always funny to me because I always wonder, like, because I know, like, for people from The Voice, and not for Jared, because Jared had toured and played for all these years and already built that. He knew how to go out there and put on shows, whether it was in a, motorcycle bar, if it was in the middle of a, arena, it didn't matter. But I see so many of these folks that go on the show, and like on the show, they're like, they got the best band and the best lights and the production, and they got to do one song in front of a crowd that's got to cheer for them. And then all of a sudden they get off the show, and even if they won it, and they don't have any experience, and then all of a sudden, hey, you're playing down here at the Boots and Buckles in Lakeland, Florida tonight. They don't really got enough power to run all your amps through, so you're gonna have to be stage volume on half of this, but they're gonna have 600 people in there for you to play for. Go in there and do an hour and a half. Don't play too many covers.
Good luck.
And I was sitting there like, huh?
Yeah.
Keep them entertained because they'll start throwing stuff at you. But I think it's the same thing with those dates, and and that's why I love Biggest Loser, because you really did have to lose the weight. Now the bubble on Biggest Loser is that I woke up every single day and there was fresh, organic fruits, vegetables. All the meats were organic, no hormones, no antibiotics, brought in fresh, or never frozen, brought in every single day. Now, you did have to cook for yourself. I was like, oh, you had a chef cooking everything. No, you had to cook it. You had to calculate it. You had to do all that stuff.
But you didn't have to pay $8 for your milk that day.
But I did not. Hey, listen, I took full advantage. I was in there. Everybody else was like, they would eat the chicken and all this stuff. I'm like, hey, the bison is leaner than the chicken. Yeah. And I love bison meat. So I'm in there just chowing down on bison. Like, you eat all that red meat. I'm like, yeah, all red meat ain't the same, bro. Yeah, just because you ain't over here eating the prime rib, don't mean you ain't get. I said you don't want the prime rib because it's got all the fat in it.
I don't know that you've ever said anything so true. And I'm gonna throw a plug out there for Andy, because he's one of our our new donors coming on. And Andy's Meat Shop. I don't know the name of it. I just call it Andy's Meat Shop, but
Tennessee Meat Co.
Tennessee Meat Co.
Flyer.
Dude,
my name's on the wall at this point.
Listen, so here's the deal with like I come in there and I'll give you two stories, because like most people, I don't know if he has normal meat in there. I don't know. I've never bought it, because every time I've been in there, I get the Wagyu.
I always get the Wagyu as well.
Right, because I'm like, oh, I'm here already, and Andy's such a great guy. I'll just support him, But anyway, so one of our buddies didn't know about the shop, and he came in to just support Andy in his new shop. And he didn't look at any prices. He didn't do. He's like, "What's the best thing you got?" And this kid loads him up. Well, this particular guy does a lot of grilling out for the entire neighborhood, and so he bought meat the way he bought meat, which was excessively. And he said, "I get home," and he was like, "I had bought nothing but filet Wagyu, and I had bought it for like enough people to like put on a party in my neighborhood." He was like, and it was $1,500. It's like, I didn't even look at it. I just gave him my card, and they rang it up, and I got home, and I pulled out the first package, like $353. Wait a minute. But anyway, like,
look at the screen, people.
That being said, I'm glad that you brought up that he does have normal good meat as well. I go in there and I buy the Wagyu and I get home and now I don't know if the Wagyu was that good or if it was how much care I put into the fact that I had spent so much money on
You
meat
weren't gonna
just
burn that
now.
meat.
Right.
And I cook these fillets up, and my wife takes the first bite, and she goes, "Oh my gosh!" And I was like, "Yeah, how much would you pay for that steak?" And she goes, "I mean, at least $50." And I was like, "Well, I paid $60 for them raw, so let's hope that you'd pay $300 for them." But dude, they were absolutely the best steaks I'd ever had.
You know,
They
the
were-
best
they were
way to have
phenomenal.
Wagyu, the best way to have Wagyu is with Ragu on it. So you have a Wagyu Ragu or a Ragu Wagyu, man, it's great, dude.
I mean, I had mine on the egg, and I preferred it that way. But
What is it you like? What you say when I come off 75 hard? What are you gonna cook me today?
Some spare ribs.
Spare ribs. No,
Oh,
you
yeah.
said, you said
Ragu.
something about a ragu, something or
You
another.
can't have spare,
Spare ribs,
ribs
Jake.
on.
Spare rib ragu, man.
You can't
There
have
you
spare
go.
ribs on the 75 hard.
He won't.
Man, I'm
What kind of diet are you conforming to over there, bro?
just right versus wrong.
You just going all white meat or what?
No, hell no. No,
I mean, you could
had-
go pork ribs and that'd be white meat. Be honest with you.
Yeah, no, we actually did you know? And so now that I'm gonna bring it back to Andy. I was in there Friday and Andy walks over to me and he goes, "I'm gonna tell you what to get, Jeff." I said, "I ain't buying that damn alligator, Andy. I'm just not doing it."
Alligator's pretty good.
Man, I'm not saying, but when it's staring at you in the meat store,
Oh yeah, that's
it-
different.
It's just a little
I just want to
different.
eat it.
not me, man. I'll do it. I'll eat anything. I'll grill anything. You give it to me, I'm gonna put it on the grill.
Have you seen that Liver King guy?
I'm not eating liver. I've eaten liver. It's not good.
Well, he eats it raw and bone marrow
No,
right
no.
out of the bone. He literally
And
scoops
I've watched a whole lot of videos with green egg, and I've never seen anybody put liver on there because no one wastes their time.
He don't cook it. He eats
Ugh.
testicles raw. It's
What?
no joke. I watched this guy do it on TV. I ain't seen it in real life.
We're way off the beaten path.
Wrap it
here,
up. Wrap it up. Yeah.
but-
We're over there talking about testicles and stuff. He's like, we're not even out of time. You guys got to stop that. That's
You netted it out, but I'm just giving you facts.
What about Naked and Afraid? You watch Naked? Anybody watch Naked?
I've
and
never
Oh, yeah.
watched it.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Good show.
yeah,
It
it's
is.
great.
There we go. Then Emma just woke up.
Raising them right.
Hey, but yeah, so going back to pork, Andy says, "I thought old pork would kill you, but we got this 45-day dry aged bone in pork chop." And he said, "It's just phenomenal." And I said, "I'll take 2 of them." So we actually did them up Saturday with some, what else? We did some is it
Green beans.
picanha. Y'all had picanha? Has
Mm-mm.
anybody had picanha? It's about $5 a pound.
I love pecan pie.
Ooh, man, talk to me. Some ice cream. We're back to ice cream. Here
Let's
we
get
go.
back to this meat. All right,
Sorry,
so
back to the meat.
picanha.
Picanha. When you next time you go in Tennessee Meat Coach, just ask if they have picanha. Ask them how to cook it. It's about $12 a pound. It's better than filet.
Really?
It's fantastic. It is.
I eat an
hands
excessive amount of
down.
filet, man.
I do too. It's my favorite. It's my favorite cut.
I mean, dude, you can't call me any week that I'm not on that egg at some point in time. Like it's usually 3 to 4 times a week.
I
It's a
gotta get
bad
me one of
habit.
these.
My
damn
wife
eggs.
eats everything well done. I just want to throw that out there.
Oh,
She's
dude,
wrong.
It's
She
She's
is
wrong,
She
but
is
she
wrong.
does.
She
If
is
I make
It's
her a burger
painful.
and has even a slight hint of anything other than like gray inside.
dude, I tell you what. So my wife will tell you this story at some point in time. She'll bring it up because someone will bring up like getting mad at each other or whatever. And she still to this day says that that's one of the maddest that she's ever seen me at her. I didn't say anything, but she could just feel the anger in me. I bring home 2 big tomahawks. They're literally like 3.5 to 4 inches thick. They're huge. And I'd asked her, I was like, "Hey, I really want to pay attention to these tomahawks. So will you prepare the sides?" And she was like, "Yeah." And I'm out there. I've got these things perfection. I've got like 3 different temperature gauges in them. Like I've got them exactly the way I need them. I'm going to sit them for 5 minutes and then we're going to cut into them. And I was like, "Hey, they're about done. Just sit for 5 minutes." And she goes, "So the sides ready?" And she goes, "Yeah." And we've got people coming over. And she goes, "Yeah." And then she looks and realizes that she hasn't turned the oven on yet. So now I'm at this dilemma of like, I either eat these steaks now and I look like a heathen and the people are coming over. I don't really know
So
them.
you ate the steaks now.
No, because I didn't know the people and they were clients. And so I was trying to decide like,
What's the play here?
Right.
Just
So-
soft a little
so I was
bit.
like, how much longer? How much? I was like, well, I mean, I cooked them pretty raw. So I mean, pretty rare. So I mean, they'll still hold. I mean, worst case, it'll be like, maybe they'll be close to medium. It was doable. I forget what happened because I was just steaming the entire time.
Right.
So are those
And
steaks.
it winds up being 25 minutes. And when I cut into them, they were all completely well done. It was like eating a freaking pot roast. I was,
Oh.
and I was just looked at her, and she was like, "Oh my gosh!" She was like, she felt the energy. Like I don't get that mad about many things, but I get mad about my meat,
Listen,
man. Like
I'm going to share. Listen, I know we got to wrap it up because I can tell he's like, let's go, people. But I'm going to tell you one more story. And you're going to have to listen to it. So I ain't never eaten any kind of meat other than what comes from the Piggly Wiggly in my entire life. And I go to, get a record deal.
Yeah.
And we worked real close with Big and Rich back then. So I get invited to go to the Palm. And I don't know what the Palm is. To me, it's just another restaurant. I don't give a crap, what it's. This the Palm. Oh, okay. So we go inside the Palm, and John Rich decides he's going to order for everybody. It's Kid Rock, who's as redneck as me, Cowboy Troy, Butter, Eddie Montgomery, John Rich, John Barry, and Big Kenny. We're all sitting there at the table. I can't remember. I think there was like 10 of us, something like that. Sitting there at the table. He orders everybody a big old steak and get all the sides and stuff that are in front of you. I'm like, oh, is that one mine? I'm like, no, it's for everybody. I'm like, crap, I wanted that for me.
Yeah.
You know? But anyway, so they bring out all this stuff, and then the waiter comes in and is like, is there anything is there anything else you'd like? And I said, hey, could you bring me some ketchup?
Oh no.
Well, there ain't no French fries on the table. Let me just tell you that,
Yeah.
except for Cowboy Troy's French fries. So I said, yeah, I said, I'll take some ketchup. And John goes, what are you getting ketchup for? And I was like, for my steak. He goes, you ain't even taken a bite of it yet. He goes, you don't need a lot of other words. Ketchup on that steak. This is a palm steak. And I'm like, okay. I was like, well, I'll try it, and I saw off a little piece and I take a bite of it. And he goes, what do you think about that? I said, I think I need some ketchup. And he's like, you dumb redneck, I can't take you anywhere. So this is my favorite part, though. That's not even the punchline. Here's the punchline. John goes, does anybody else need some damn ketchup with their steak? And without missing a beat, Cowboy Troy goes, I'll take some of that ketchup for my steak too. So I knew there was two of us good old-fashioned rednecks in there. But anyway, I have since had a couple of steaks that I did not want or need ketchup with, but that was my first experience in a high-end restaurant.
So do you still use ketchup with your steak?
Most
today?
every steak.
Yeah, I put some
That-
ketchup on one of my steaks the other day. It was horrible. I just turned my back to it. And like,
I mean, you
It's
you
vain.
know what you know.
It works for you.
Hey, look, we put chocolate gravy on our biscuits where I come from.
Man,
so
talk to me now.
yeah,
that's a completely different thing. There's nothing wrong with that. It's
That
not.
is
I know, but
It's not.
people when I tell them chocolate gravy, they start envisioning like red eye gravy or white gravy and putting chocolate in. I'm like, no, it's just like fondue on a biscuit, bro.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right, I'm going to shut up now. Hey, thank y'all so much for having us out here with the Nashville Cartel. We'll talk to you after this. Stay to the Spread the Positive podcast.
Oh, he lost it.
Well,
You're so close.
I had
You're
it, but
so
I was
close.
trying to read it. I'll read anything you put on the teleprompter. I was going spread.
But he did say
Spread
that he did say that he wasn't a very good reader.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, when I read spread and the reads actually correct to me. The other two words look off.
I love it. I love it. So, real quick, we need sponsors. How can they reach out?
So Live to Be, you can go to livetobee.org. There's a donate button that you can click on for a monthly, or you can just send us an email if you'd rather pay by check per month, or if you'd rather Venmo. We don't care. We'll take the money however you want to give it.
Yep.
If you want to write us a letter, we'll also take the letter as well. Yeah, so you can donate there monthly or just hit us up. I answer all the emails back. So
Perfect. Let's make it happen, everybody. We need to get to 20. Let's get this show
Yeah.
rocking
Yes,
and rolling.
sir.
Let's help the kids. Let's outreach. Let's get refined.
Follow the G code.
That's right, man, the G code. Appreciate you both for being here.
thanks for having us,
Very
buddy.
excited about what's coming.
I
Let's
feel
make it
bad for the
happen.
person that has to edit this. I knew that's why he wanted us to wrap up. Hey, thank you
Like,
very
how
much.
long
We'll
have we
see you
been
on
on?
the Spread the Positive podcast. All right.